There's a boy behind the glass tonight, counting cracks beneath the neon light. They called it justice on the evening news, another headline people choose. And I stood outside those courtroom doors with trembling hands in case fire wars. But truth don't shine like gasoline, it burns too slow for TV screens. So they trade a soul for certainty, wrap their fear in sympathy, and every doubt gets crucified before it's even heard alive. Why does no one care when the innocent disappear into cages built from rumors and the comfort of our fear? Why does no one care when the truth is standing there, crying through the silence, but nobody wants to hear? And the devil's advocates still scream into the air. Why does no one care? There's a mother clutching faded notes, every word her son once wrote. She swears his eyes were never cold, but mercy's hard when anger's sold. The papers print the easy side, the crowd decides before the trial, and anyone who questions it gets buried underneath the pile. 'Cause doubt is dangerous these days, and nuance never trends. So they sharpen all their outrage till compassion finally ends. Why does no one care when the innocent disappear into stories built for ratings and convictions built on fear? Why does no one care when the cracks are everywhere, and the ones who ask for answers are the villains of the year? But the devil's advocates still stand when no one dares. Why does no one care? I'm so tired of screaming into storms, watching hearts grow comfortably numb. How many lives must break apart before we question what we've done? And if the truth is inconvenient, does that make it any less real? Or are we just addicted to the safety of the seal? Why does no one care when a human life's unfairly torn, when the system feeds on silence and calls indifference being strong? Why does no one care? Why is it easier not to see that justice without questions isn't justice? It's machinery. Still the devil's advocates refuse to look away, even when the whole world says just let it fade. But I still care, God, I still care. black halo cracked, but I still wear the crown. Truth got buried beneath your lies. Now I walk through fire with vengeance in my eyes. Every prayer sounds hollow tonight. Every saint got blood on white. You built your empire on fear and blame. Now the devil himself won't speak your name. I hear the choir screaming in reverse. Heaven closed the gates, now feel the curse. I'm the devil's advocate, the voice inside your head, the shadow in the mirror, the whisper from the dead. I drag the truth into the light and watch your kingdom break. You made a monster out of me. Now feel the hell you make. Chains on my soul, but they forge me strong. Turn my scars into battle songs. Your judgment carved into my skin, but I learned how to love the violence within. Ashes fall like freezing rain. Mercy died in the sound of chains. You can run, but you can't escape the reckoning wearing my face. No savior coming, no final grace, just broken gods and a world erased. If sin is power, then let me reign. I kissed the dark and became the flame. I'm the devil's advocate, the end you can't outrun, the last breath in the silence when the war is finally won. I tear the heavens from the sky and leave the stars to fade. You created this demon, now bow to what you made.
All right, thank you, everybody. Welcome to A Crimes After Dark, and I'm sorry for those who didn't want to wait through all of that hoopla, but we really, this is a big, this could be the biggest day in years. It was worth a little wait, in my opinion. And we had a sizzle reel ready to go on the night of a big, huge news. Lots of, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about tonight. I'm going to go ahead and we have a full panel. We have a really, really full panel. We got Dago from True Crime Cafe, who is going to join us. And we got Robin, the co-producer, put that great video together, along with One, who wrote that song and helped, do all of the lyrics and stuff like that. And great collaborative effort. All of them are on stage. We're also, if Kathy It's Indie Zone is in the house, she's invited to come up and join us as well for this monumental news breakdown. And I have a lot to say, and I'm holding back right now because I could monologue this thing forever without anybody else being up here with me. And I know that One probably has a monologue written as well. So let's assemble the group, and then I'll give you my take, and then we'll get the panel's take, and we'll get at her. All right, so there's Dago, there's One, there's Robin. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing great.
It's an entertainment.
Anything going on today? I mean, is there any news going on?
No, nothing of any importance. It's been a boring, slow-ass, typical day.
Holy shit! Like it doesn't get bigger. Well, it could get a little bit bigger than this, but this is a monumental.
This is big enough for today. I've had all I can take for today. I'll be honest with you. So yeah.
And you know how, so look, I'm sure everyone does know, but somebody may, first of all, we have some really, really loyal people on the Crimes After Dark show. So some people may just wait to hear what news is going on in the case till my show. So if in case you haven't heard, enormous news, Bryan KOHBERGER has filed essentially post-conviction relief and stated the reasons why. So all of those rumors we said, hey, we think he's working on post-conviction relief. He filed it. We've got the filing. We're going to read it in his own handwriting because KOHBERGER and this is my little take, Kohberger had to do that shit on his own. An attorney didn't draft that for him. He did his own legal work, and he filed his own post-conviction relief. And I know there's people out there saying, DA, it doesn't matter. He can ask for whatever he wants. He's not going to get shit. This is not grounds for an appeal. Actually, you'd be wrong. This is all day long grounds for an appeal, and he has all the reasons why, and he lists
and then some.
And then some, and it's enormous. So listen as we try to break this down for you. One, Kathy did join us backstage. Do you have a monologue tonight?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to put you on
Absolutely.
stage for the monologue by yourself, and then I'll bring Kathy up when you get done.
All right.
Oh, is Miss Kathy here already? Okay.
Yeah, she's backstage.
Cool.
I'm back.
Welcome
It's
back.
good to be alive in the den on a Monday night.
Especially today, yes.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right.
Very special day. So for all of us waiting and grilling and doing all this stuff for years or months or however long, maybe something is actually finally happening. So here we go. Tonight, the silence surrounding the Idaho 4 case has been shattered. Not by a new witness, not by a confession, not by the long-awaited public trial that was supposed to place every piece of evidence beneath the unforgiving light of a courtroom, but by a handwritten petition emerging from behind prison walls. More than a year after Bryan Kohberger stood before a judge and pleaded guilty to the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, he is now attempting to tear that plea apart. Kohberger has filed post-conviction relief in Ada County District Court seeking to challenge the convictions that resulted in 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Court reporting indicates that he's currently representing himself in the proceeding. And that is not merely a technical objection hidden beneath layers of legal language. This is a declaration of innocence, a direct attack on the plea agreement, and an accusation that the machinery of justice did not simply fail him, but pushed him toward a false confession. In the handwritten affidavit attributed to Kohberger, he alleges that he was convinced to plead guilty through coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of exculpatory discovery. He claims his counsel failed to inform him about evidence allegedly disclosed during plea discussions, including what he describes as clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands. He further alleges that he was told actual guilt was not the most important factor in deciding whether to accept the agreement because death row was imminent. According to the affidavit, he was encouraged to view a guilty plea as a form of legal victory, while being given what he calls a grossly misleading portrayal of life imprisonment and the realities of Idaho's death penalty. These are Kohberger's allegations, not findings established by a court. The affidavit is signed beneath a certification made under penalty of perjury and dated July 27th, 2026. And then come the words that may reopen every wound this case has left behind. He says his plea was not the truth. He says his innocence is. In a separate written statement dated July 26, Kohberger argues that justice was never served, that unanswered questions multiplied as discovery became public, and that the state's theory was never subjected to the scrutiny of a trial. He declares his intention to enter a not guilty plea and says he is prepared to face the possibility of the death penalty again. But hanging over these new allegations is another sworn document, the original plea agreement. In that agreement, Kohberger acknowledged that he was not being coerced, that he understood the consequences of pleading guilty, and that he reviewed possible defenses with his attorneys, and that he was satisfied with their representation. So now, two sworn narratives stand opposite one another. In one, Bryan Kohberger knowingly and voluntarily admitted responsibility for 4 murders. In the other, he claims that admission was manufactured through pressure, withheld information, and promises that were never honored. Both stories cannot comfortably occupy the same room, and somewhere between them lies a question the courtroom may now be forced to confront. What changed? Did Kohberger knowingly accept the deal to escape the possibility of execution, only to regret that decision after the prison doors closed behind him? Was this filing born from remorse over the plea rather than innocence? Or was the agreement constructed upon conversations, representations, and undisclosed evidence that the public has never been allowed to examine? The burden now belongs to Kohberger. A post-conviction petition is not a magic key that automatically unlocks a guilty plea. He must do more than proclaim innocence. He must establish a legally sufficient reason for the court to disturb convictions entered after he acknowledged guilt and accepted the benefits of an agreement that removed the death penalty. But tonight, the legal finality promised by that plea no longer feels final, because this filing strikes at the very foundation of the resolution. It challenges the performance of his former defense team. It challenges whether his decision was truly informed. It challenges whether potentially exculpatory information was properly disclosed. And most explosively, it challenges whether a man serving 4 life sentences confessed to crimes he now insists he did not commit. For the families of Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, this is not merely another motion on a crowded docket. It is another descent into a nightmare they were told had reached its conclusion. The plea agreement was supposed to eliminate uncertainty. It was supposed to prevent years of litigation. It was supposed to ensure that the man who admitted taking 4 lives would never walk free again. Instead, the case is breathing again. The sealed doors are beginning to crack. The questions that were buried with the abandoned trial are clawing their way back towards the surface. Questions about the evidence, questions about the defense, and questions about what Kohberger knew and when he entered the plea. So with that, this is a special night. We have a lot to cover. Thank you all for being in here, and we will welcome all that you have to say. And live from New York, it's Monday night.
All right, let's get Kathy up here with us as well. So I want to set a few ground rules off the bat. I already see a lot of people in chat trying to tell us that a bunch of people just said Bryan Kohberger can't file this. It's not going to happen. You had your day for years. You've had your. We've already heard the official story. Bryan Kohberger did it because he said he did it. Bryan Kohberger did it because Dateline said he did twice. And we've heard all the documentaries. We've seen all the evidence. We've heard your story. Sit back for a minute and let us have a moment to talk about this. So I don't need anybody in here reminding us what mainstream media has been telling us for 3 years or 4 years. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip from a person who works in media to say that this is the reason why media is failing America, because Americans want quick and easy news, and it's led to this kind of situation. And somebody in media is going to say this is the reason why we have this situation, because people want quick and easy. They don't want news anymore where they have to pay for it.
Right.
They don't want good reporting. They want instant reporting. They don't want good reporting. They want instant reporting. And that's why media will always just say what the law enforcement wants them to say, and they'll repeat the narrative that they've been told, because it's the quick and easy thing to do. And this is why we have situations like we have today.
And if I can add real quick, because I seen a statement in there about, and I said this on my show earlier too. Every one of us, myself, Lee, I'm sure Miss Kathy, 1-1, Robin, everybody else that's in here, absolutely 1,000,000% feels for the families, for what they have been going through, for what they're going through at this moment. We know this is not easy, okay? What needs to be understood is that the blame and the accountability needs to be put where it belongs, and that is with Latah County, Ada County, Moscow Police, Judge Hippler, the prosecutor's office, all of that, not any one of us, because every one of us has asked these questions to ensure and to make sure that true justice does come to these families for the victims, period. That is why we've always been here. So we do feel for them, absolute.
And unfortunately, I agree with you. We unfortunately feel like we're one of the only people who seem to want to know what happened to these kids' families.
That's
It seems
right.
like the families don't want to know what happened to their own kids,
It sure as hell looks
including
that way.
the Gonsalveses are already on the warpath, calling Bryan Kohberger a little mosquito and shitting all over the YouTube community again for this is all your fault. We have to endure more bullshit because of your little mosquito bullshit antics trying to get him another trial and just fuck enough, man.
They wanted a trial. Lee, they
Yes.
wanted a
Now
trial.
all of a
so
sudden,
why
we're
did that
pieces of
change?
shit for anyways.
Exactly.
All right, here's what we're gonna do.
Kathy.
Evening, Kathy. How you doing?
What's new?
I don't know.
Anything happened today?
No, I'm not sure.
No, nothing.
It's a business as usual, I'm thinking.
Lee, I want to bring you back a couple of months if I could.
Yeah.
Do you recall when we were discussing the fact that on the very day that Mr. Kohberger entered Judge Stephen J. Hippler's courtroom last April for a marathon day of motion hearings, that a young man in Texas had filed a petition in the United States Supreme Court. His name was Munson P.
Yes.
Hunter III.
Yes.
Yes.
And I spoke with you the night before the Supreme, it was June 17th. And I said, you would ask, what's going on with, because you're one of the few people that are following it, right? And Dago is as well. And I know Juan and Robin has been very interested. The next day, the Supreme Court of the United States, 8-1 decision, rendered a ruling, and it gave us I think the legal standard why we saw what happened today. That it is a miscarriage of justice. It's page 2 of read the Supreme Court. It don't get higher than that. Supreme Court 8-1 decision ruled an agreement not to appeal a sentence is unenforceable when it would result in a miscarriage of justice, meaning when it would leave in place the kind of egregious error that would bring the judicial system into disrepute. And of quote, Supreme Court, in my opinion, has recognized that the public cannot be kept out of important decisions, as what we saw, the disgrace that happened for more than 2.5 years and another year of this case being under seal for the most part. I agree with what Dago said. I agree with what you said, with Juan said. Beautiful poem, by the way, Juan. You were very much with. So right now, what is going on, and it's going to take some time, but it's Kohberger versus Idaho. Game on as of today. Mr. Kohberger has filed a petition for post-conviction relief. He hasn't cited to it, but he is citing to Hunter and the Garza versus Idaho case, ineffective assistance of counsel. He's looking for an appellate lawyer. So that's going to be the first ruling out of Judge Stephen J. Hippler. And then I expect a petition, an amended petition to be filed.
And we're going to have to go back and forth because we're all over the place with thoughts. And first of all, I think you were spot on. That the ruling of the Supreme Court on the appeals issue and whether or not a person can waive their right to appeal when there's a massive miscarriage of justice was timely. I think that was very much a reason why we waited. And also, I said the same thing. If I were Kohberger and I'm willing to sit tight for a while, I would wait to the last minute to make my filing so I can get all the information I need. So you'd wait for that decision on the Supreme Court. You'd wait for the book Broken Plea to come out. You'd wait for Turvey to come out and make you'd wait for all those bombshells to hit, and then you'd say, if that isn't enough evidence for me to get a new trial or to get my trial that I never got, then what is? Because all this shit's happened, and this goes back to what I said to Christopher Whitcomb when I said, we hear rumors that post-conviction relief is coming, and he said, well, I got a book coming out. And there's 2 more whistleblowers coming out, and there's another documentary coming out. And this is all happening before Bryan Kohberger's date comes up. And here we are. So all of this, I think, has been kind of in the works. How much of it Kohberger knows about, I don't know. But
He does
let me give you
now.
some-
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the New York Times article that broke the story. We're gonna read Bryan Kohberger's actual paperwork that he filed, filing post-conviction relief. We're gonna see where he says, where he tells you. This is the summary of what he will tell you. I was led to believe pleading guilty was a formality. It was just something we had to do. It really wasn't important what I was saying. It was a formality we had to get through. I was lied to, I was coerced, and I was even given threats. If you have to go on death row, it's going to be a little tiny 8x8 torture cell. You want no part of this. The best thing for you to do is to take a plea deal, even if you have to admit to something you didn't do, because it's just a formality. And under that, Kohberger pled guilty, just like I said. And I said to people, everyone who wanted to pull that freaking attitude of he's guilty because he said he was, if he had said no to a single thing they asked him, plea deal's off the table. His attorney had told him, this is something you need to do. It's a formality. You're going to have to admit, this is what he's claiming, essentially. You're going to have to say things you don't necessarily believe in order to, because it's a formality. You need to do this for your own benefit. And he did. And now he's realizing he was lied to. He was misled. And he wants a new attorney. And he said, I got railroaded. And guess what? Other bombshell. Kohberger basically admitted he didn't know. He wasn't told about the clump of hair in Ethan Chapin's hand. His own fucking attorney didn't tell him they had exculpatory evidence of a clump of hair in Ethan's hand, and he didn't know that.
In the middle of the plea talk. Okay.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you not know that?
Right during the plea talks, there's discovery that is exculpatory to him being handed over to them, and they didn't say a fucking word to him.
Dago,
Wow.
you and I have known each other a very, very long time.
Yes,
when I
ma'am.
first started my podcast, Dave going over that docket, I would go on to Dago's site and he would play music sometimes and do some things and we would talk. And to anyone who lambasts any content creator or member of the public for wanting this country to operate the way it should, why didn't you go move to Russia for about a week, see how you're treated there? Because you'd be the first ones to jump up and down and scream for due process if you got a parking ticket. Just like a content creator who was going on trial in Florida, yelled at Kohberger that you're guilty, went out to Indiana and said you're guilty to Mr. Allen. But now he's charged with domestic battery. Why doesn't he plead guilty?
Thank you.
Hey, if the cops are right all the time, what are you wasting time for? I think you're hypocrites. I think you're dangerous to the society. So stop it. Stop with the gaslighting.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
let me reiterate something else I want everyone to think about. This is rhetorical because I'm not inviting you to debate me in the chat. Bryan Kohberger started at the very beginning saying, I'm innocent. His attorney said he's innocent. He said, I can't wait to be exonerated. None of you believed it, apparently. And then when he pled guilty, you totally believed that. And now he's saying, I pled guilty because I was told it was in my best interest, but I am still innocent. I always have been innocent, and you still don't believe him. Go fuck yourself if you believe him when he says he's guilty, but you don't believe the 2 times at the front and the back of it, he said, I'm innocent. He said, I'm innocent, and he says I'm innocent today, but you won't believe that. The only thing you want to believe is the time that he said I'm guilty, because that's what you need to hang your head on. That's what you need to sleep at night. He's guilty because he said he was. Well, he started out saying he was innocent, and today he says he's innocent. He said, I'm guilty, just like I said, because he had to, because it's the only way to get the plea deal. The only way to get the plea is to say yes. So I'm a little pissed off because I've already had people telling me this. Yeah, yes. He was told to. Yeah.
My innocence is my truth. Those are that man's words, 100%. My innocence is my truth. Think about that and let that soak in.
So it makes me angry, and that's why I'm so fired up. It makes me angry when people tell me still, even after this, well, I'm sorry, but Bryan Kohberger is guilty because he said he was. He said he was innocent at the beginning, and he says he's innocent today. But you somehow are okay ignoring what he says until he says something you like, which is I'm guilty. He's guilty because he said so. He also said he was innocent twice. He's only said he's guilty once. So which one you want to go with? I think we need to reconsider some things. We
can't have it both ways.
And we need to look at what he said. I was lied to. I was coerced. I was threatened, and I was lied to. That's why I did the plea deal.
Right.
So
and suddenly, this case makes sense. For almost
Yeah.
4 years, I've invested, and I know you all have too, hundreds of
ma'am.
hours of time looking at why don't we have a timeline of when Xana and Ethan entered 1122 for the last time. Judge Hippler says they weren't home at 2 o'clock. Detective Payne says they were home at 1:45. Why has he changed his plea? He stated he was factually innocent from his mouth. 2 of his attorneys said they fought for 2.5 years. This makes sense to me. What I read today, this makes sense. And these are powerful words. He did a damn good job, in my opinion.
Yes.
In meeting, and some of you think that, oh, Hunter, it's federal. You know what? The Constitution, every state in the Union, it applies to. The Constitution is supreme. Read the supremacy clause if you don't believe me. If you don't believe me, I don't care, because today this makes sense.
And the bad news is Bryan KOHBERGER had to file this post-conviction relief to Stephen Hippler. Stephen Hippler is the one that's going to have to decide whether Bryan KOHBERGER, and I realize a lot of you who are guilters are like, good, because Hippler will never say you can have post-conviction relief because he's fucked them every step of the way.
I hope he does. I hope he denies it so it goes upward.
And it's going to go.
That's right. No, Dago said it. This wasn't a conspiracy. That was. We've been saying be prepared. If he files a post-conviction relief, what the statute says is he's got to file it in Ada County because that's where he was sentenced and convicted, and it's going to be the same judge. So we prepared you. But Judge Hippler, he knows the law too. Okay, if he screws up here, either side are probably going to appeal, and ultimately, this is probably going to get over into federal court for habeas corpus relief.
I anticipate this going to federal court,
and that's what we want.
And I'm sure Hippler will deny it, and then all the guilters are gonna be like, haha, I see, we told you.
I told you he'd never pull it off.
We're telling you now. We're already expecting Hippler to deny
I want him to.
But I will say, Hippler is, if he does deny it, he knows the law. He knows what will happen. Like was spoken about earlier, maybe he does want to still keep control over it. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll surprise us. I don't know.
Yeah, it is possible. Yeah, there's signs that Hippler will.
Because if he does, because if he accepts it, then he still kind of has control.
What do you think, Kathy, with that? Like what one was just saying, because we talked about that in my show a little bit ago too. Do you think he may approve it just to be able to have that control and not allow it to go to federal?
Well, look at this. That's an excellent question. Juan raises, and I do believe that Judge Stephen J. Hippler is a control freak. Yes. I do believe he has a massive ego, and I think he wants to have the opportunity to ask Mr. KOHBERGER, because now what we need to get past this motion to dismiss. That's what's going to happen. They're going to raise the fact you pled guilty. Here's the appeal, waiver, and then comes the legal filings and back and forth. Does Hippler want somebody else to tell him what Garza versus United States and Hunter versus U.S.
Right.
No, I think he wants to be able to say, well, look, you were in my courtroom on July 2nd. Didn't I ask you this, and this? He loses control over all of that. So let's see what he does.
So yes, somebody's at. Thank you, by the way, for the gifts. Gulfstream Bomb, thank you so much. And those who are all like, yes, we are going to read everything. Some people are asking, are you guys going to read it? Yes, we are going to. But we have a lot to fucking say. But yes, we're going to read it. We're going to read it verbatim so you can see exactly what was said.
And to that end, I know that emotions are high. I get it. But please, in the chat, so that we can get through things. I don't care if you're a guilter, if you're here, as long as you are respectful and you really want to learn something and not just be here to, get things ramped up, because that's not why we're here. We're here for the truth. Okay. So can you please just be respectful? That's all we're asking
to each other.
Right. You guys you guys who are guilters have to understand. No one, as far as I know, everyone here that's on this panel, if BK is guilty in court, then let him suffer
it is what it is,
his penalty. But let him go through court and let's see the evidence. Let's see what the evidence is, and if that's what it is, I'll be the first one here. Okay,
100%.
let him rot,
be right with you,
or whatever it is. We're not saying none of us are saying, oh my God, BK, he's innocent 1,000% or whatever. We want to see the evidence.
That's
Period.
all. That's all we're asking. And this is
4
going to be
years.
the way it's going to be in Kohberger versus Idaho. Now,
Yes.
if they didn't overly seal the case, have these hearings behind closed doors, have a gag order in place during the entire time, we would not be here today.
That's
Because
right.
we would have learned during. And you know what? He's got baseballs that are huge by filing this thing.
Yes,
Because
yes.
he's now his four family members are going to be witnesses in this. He is
Yes.
looking at possibly the DP. If he
Yeah.
was an accessory before, after the fact, co-conspirator, or did the crimes, and it comes out in evidence, he's going back to where he came
Right.
from.
Right.
So let's get
All right.
And he
let's
even
get into-
welcomed it. He
I
even
was gonna
welcomed
say-
it, Kathy, in his statement. He welcomed the death penalty to bring it back to the table, almost as a challenge, in my opinion. So
Yeah, he said, I'm not afraid of the death penalty. I'm not afraid of the death. So
Right.
for people who think that he avoided the death penalty because it was going to get him killed, he's not afraid of facing death. And he thanked the community that supports the belief that he might be
Yes.
innocent, and his family supports him and has always felt that. He said his family has always felt that he's innocent. So all you people who think his own family was going to turn on him in the stand, they were prepared to testify against him. Didn't you know they were going to get up there and say he's guilty? His sister knew he was guilty. His family stood by Kohberger, and he's telling you that. But you can believe whatever you want, because a lot of people just want to believe whatever they want about
and they will.
Kohberger,
They will.
and they will. But let's get into reading. Let's get, because everybody's waiting for it. We will probably have to. I want to read entirety of things so you guys can see it. This is the article from the New York Times that broke the story to a lot of us. Man convicted in Idaho college killings seeks to take back the guilty plea. By the way, the author of this is a New York Times reporter from Seattle, which is very close to where I used to live in Seattle. I've reached out to him, said, hey, by the way, I happened to talk to Christopher Wickham. I knew this was coming on the down low. So can we talk? And he hasn't called back, of course, but I'm going to reach out to him anyways. But man convicted in Idaho college killing seeks to take back the guilty plea. In an interview from prison, Kohberger's finally spoke, by the way, to reporters. That's another thing. Did you realize he's finally spoke to reporters? In an interview from prison, Bryan Kohberger said that he had filed a petition to reopen the case. He blamed his guilty plea on false promises and wrong information. And yes, all of the guilters will say, did not Hitler say? Has anybody made a promise to you? No. That's going to be Hitler's fallback. Hey, you can't say now that people made false promises because I asked you. Did anybody make you a promise and you said no? But once again, he's going to claim my attorney advised me to answer these things in the affirmative. That's his fallback. My ineffective assistance of counsel. My attorney told me to say that. She's the law expert, not me. She says it's just a formality. Just say it.
Same attorney who for more than 2.5 years said we don't have discovery, but in change of plea, suddenly we have discovery, Judge Stephen J. Hitler. How's that possible?
Thank you. Thank you. Very good point, Kathy. Huge point.
Please.
By the way, Mike Baker is writing a book on this case. Everybody's fucking writing a book on this case.
So we might as well too, Lee.
Oh yeah, I'm working on it.
I want Lee and Dago's book. That's all I'm reading.
Oh yeah. We got it. We're working on it. Everybody's fucking writing a book on this case. All right. The criminology student convicted last year of murdering 4 University of Idaho students in their home is seeking to abandon his guilty plea and obtain a trial. That's what we want, is a fucking trial. I don't care if he's guilty or not. Let's have a trial and see it. Let's let a jury of his peers decide his guilt, not a system. He's fucked by the system. Claiming that he is innocent. He's now claiming he's innocent and was misled into confessing to high-profile killings. In an interview with the New York Times, Bryan Kohberger, who is currently serving 4 life sentences, said that he had filed a petition challenging his conviction, citing concerns about how the plea deal came together. My actual innocence is my truth. But wait a minute. Bryan Kohberger is guilty because he said he's guilty. He said he's innocent here. He said he's innocent at the beginning, and he was told by his attorney, you need to say these words for the plea deal to go through. That's what I'm saying happened to him. He always has maintained his factual innocence. He continues to maintain his factual innocence, but his attorney advised him that taking a plea deal was in their best interest. And he will even say it was a legal win for my client, for my attorney. It was a legal win for Ann Taylor. It's always considered a win for your defense attorney if she gets death taken off the table. So she got a victory with that win, but he spends the rest of his life in jail. And promises that were made to Bryan Kohberger, such as being able to have access to people and visitors and all these things, all those promises were lies. They didn't didn't give him any of the things they promised him. So he's like, wait a minute, I did this deal because I was accepting the possibility that, well, at least it won't be so bad. I'll have certain things. And you didn't deliver any of those. You lied to me. So again, Hitler's going to fall back on, we asked you if you were made any promises and you said no. So fuck you. Well, we'll see who wins this case. We'll see. All right. My actual innocence is my truth, and the plea hinged on by false promises and blatant disinformation must be withdrawn, Kohberger said in a statement provided to the Times on Sunday night. He reiterated in a phone call from prison in Idaho that he had an absolute claim of innocence.
Wow.
Wait a minute, I thought Kohberger's guilty because he said he did it. Now he's saying he didn't do it. Which time do you want to believe? So, all right.
Yeah.
So let's let the jury decide. Mr. Kohberger had not granted an interview or made public comments before speaking to the Times. He declined to discuss any evidence. Good. Don't fucking discuss your case with the media. Fuck those people. They're out to fuck you. Do not discuss your case with the media. Anyways, he declined to discuss any evidence or other specific details related to his innocence claim, as well as the specific concerns that he had about the plea process. It is rare for defendants to win post-conviction challenges. So here's the writer of the article telling you his chances of actually pulling this off are slim. It gives hope for the people who want to keep Kohberger in jail for the rest of his life. Look, guys, it's rare that shit will actually be heard. Well, we'll see.
Not a word about the Hunter standard. Brand new. Not a word.
Yeah, of course
you
not.
know what? You got eight justices on the Supreme Court of the United States on his side.
Yeah.
Who do you think is more important?
Yeah,
exactly.
The family of Kaylee Gonzalez, one of the victims, said in a statement that Mr. Kohberger was like a mosquito that you just can't seem to swat. The real tragedy is this. If even a fraction of the energy spent trying to free a guilty man were directed towards honoring the victims, there would be statues of them on every corner, parks bearing their names, and days set aside to remember their lives that they lost at the hands of a narcissist, the statement read. Latah County Prosecutor's Office did not return a call seeking comment. Idaho.
I bet they didn't.
I bet they didn't.
I bet they didn't.
Yeah,
agreed.
We wouldn't be here without Thompson filing that complaint on December 29th.
That's right.
On the basis of the affidavit of probable cause. We wouldn't be here. We probably wouldn't even know Kohberger's name.
I kind of recommend that Bill Thompson take early retirement because he was already planning on retiring. I think you should go ahead and expedite that real quick and get the fuck out of some other country.
That's good advice. Go join the the other people that retired from this case.
You better go move to Sweden or something.
Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador. I sent a letter to Raul Labrador asking for an investigation into Moscow Police Department for the handling of this case. And he told me that's not the job of the Attorney General. We don't investigate agencies. We investigate appointed people elected by the people. So if you want to go after somebody, you can ask me to investigate Bill Thompson. But I can't.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, somebody needs to be investigating Labrador as well.
So Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador released a statement saying that his heart went out to the victims' families, noting that they had already endured unimaginable loss and now must face today's deeply pain. Look, his sympathy is all fuck the guy in jail who's saying I didn't do it and I got railroaded. Those poor families now have to deal with his bullshit again. So that's the guy that I petitioned to get some help. No wonder I didn't get any help because his attitude is leave the fucking families alone, you asshole. That guy's in jail where he belongs. And that's the attitude of so you're not going to get shit from that guy when you ask for help. You're not going to get shit from him.
Nope. Not from
my
any
office.
politician.
Yep, my office stands ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure justice is fully carried out, he said. So Labrador is going to do whatever he can to make sure Bryan Kohberger doesn't win. That's what I have to read this. I'm going to do everything in my power.
That's exactly what it says.
And
here's the biggest problem with this,
for the rest of his life.
Biggest problem with this whole thing is none of these people that are making these statements. Thompson put a statement out. Labrador put. All these people have put statements out today. Not one of them has made reference to the fact that when they say we're ready to do whatever's necessary to ensure justice is fully carried out, that they're all saying the same thing. In their own words, they're saying we're all here ready to ensure that Bryan Kohberger stays in prison.
Yes,
and as long as there's somebody there and it doesn't point to them making mistakes, that is all they give a fuck about. Excuse my language. They don't care about real justice, folks, and that's the biggest problem.
You're right. Absolutely, Dago. And then I had to jump in real quick, and that's part of the issue with like a lot of these documents and different things that we're reviewing and interviews. I know Lana, she made reference to it several times, and I can tell you, for me, I have 23 years in NYPD. Absolutely, if people think like, oh, the cops are they're trying to cover, you know, a CI and this and that. They don't give a shit. They don't give a rat's ass about CI, about this person, that person. They care about themselves, covering themselves. That's what they care about.
Why isn't the statement something to the effect of, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure we understand what happened in this case?
Bingo.
That's not what's said.
Thank you.
We're going to do everything in our power to make sure Kohberger stays in jail where he already belongs. We don't care about what really happened. We don't want a trial where the jury gets to see what actually happened and the evidence be tested and be fought over like it's fucking supposed to be. We want the guilty verdict we already got. So
because they would have to admit to wrongdoing and mistakes being made, and they will not, and they refuse to do that, Lee.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because if they weren't afraid, then why not let it go to trial so that everyone can see it out in the open for once and for all? What are you afraid of?
We know what it is, Robin. That's why it never went to trial. I don't believe it was ever going to go to trial, to be honest with you.
In November 2022, the 4 members in Moscow, Idaho, a college town that had not seen homicide in 7 years, captivated the country for weeks. Of course, they haven't seen homicide in 7 years, probably because some homicides could have been wrapped up as suicides or accidents.
Overdose.
Or that's another misleading statement. We don't know. Yes, they didn't record a homicide, but that doesn't necessarily mean there weren't homicides. But
and they cared so much about getting to the truth that they assigned a 2-year, basically rookie, to be the lead detective in this case.
Exactly.
You know, they didn't care enough to have somebody with experience, 10, 20 years of experience.
They needed a yes man.
Detective
Right.
That's not
a placeholder. He was just right. He was a placeholder.
Absolutely.
So they could get leniency with the court. That's all that was about.
They knew that he would agree to everything that they put out in front of him because he wanted that position. He wanted that spot to be in charge, and they knew that Brett Payne is a yes man, and that is exactly, in my opinion, why he's there.
And Dago, and right, it's that, and also they felt that they would get away with stuff, like, so when you're in court, you know, judges, they can, you know, if you go against certain rules, certain things, they could come down pretty hard. Him being new, they could try to get away with certain things.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, this is his first, you know, big.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Right.
Yeah, if he made a mistake, it'd be like, oh, he made some mistakes. He's young. He's rash. Anyways, this case captivated the country for weeks as investigators struggled to identify a suspect. Mr. Kohberger, of course, I would go back. He was the best candidate that they found. Anyways, Mr. Kohberger's arrest brought relief to the community, but also, so this is the part again. His arrest brings relief to the community. At some point, the public just wants the bad guy to go away. That's the problem also in America. We so much just want to feel good about it. Somebody has to be held responsible. Somebody had to have done this. Give me a name, put them away, and then I will feel better going to bed at night that the bad guys are put away. It makes me have peace that the bad guys always get caught. They always get put away. This is part of our problem in this country.
Bingo.
Is the need to get relief that somebody's been arrested. And we always, and most of the time, the public claps and cheers when someone's arrested before they even have reason to believe whether that person was guilty or not. We caught somebody. Oh my God, they got him. You haven't even fucking heard the case yet. And you're already celebrating that they got him. You already believe that somebody's guilty the second they've been arrested.
That's why it's not right. Everybody is no longer innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty till you can prove me innocent, period.
Well, that's if it doesn't involve you. You know, I just go back to this content creator who he screamed at Kohberger and Allen, why'd you do it? But when he's charged with a crime,
that's right.
He's due process rights.
Yes,
he's not. It's like, hey, where is your guilty plea? The cops are always right, and there's never a mistake.
No double standard,
as they say in the UK.
So this case has also stoked further mystery and speculation. Investigators have never identified a motive. Remember, we didn't ask him what his motive was because you wouldn't believe him anyways. He's a psychopath. So if you can't believe what a psychopath says, we just didn't bother to ask him what his motive was or his relationships with the victim.
Because they knew he couldn't give them one.
Or you're Cy Ray and you shock the world when you come out and say, we already know what his motive was. Cy Ray told people we know what his motive is. But yet the prosecutor said we don't know what his motive is. So who do we believe in this case? Because once he's been arrested and convicted and he's taken the plea deal, you can say whatever you want at this point. Oh yeah, we know exactly why he did it. And his DNA was all over the crime scene. You can say whatever you want because there would be no trial. Oops, maybe there will be a trial. All right. In court, law enforcement officials outlined the evidence against Mr. Kohberger. His DNA was found on a K-bar knife sheath. Well, that should be contested in a court of law. So, but again, because he pled guilty, you can say it definitively. His DNA was there at the crime scene. I beg to differ. Let's see that fought out in the courtroom. His DNA was found on the K-bar knife sheath that had been left next to two of the victims. Amazon records showed that he had purchased a K-bar knife and a sheath months prior. He drove a white Elantra, the type of car that investigators determined had been, yeah, I know, white Elantra. Oh shit. Like
Yeah.
So did 20,000 other people.
The type of car that investigators determined had been on surveillance videos circling the crime scene and then speeding away from it. Mr. Kohberger's phone showed that he was out that night with his phone turned off at the time of the murders. Mr. Kohberger declined to discuss the evidence against him. In his call with the Times, he said the intention is for all of those questions to be investigated and answered appropriately in a trial. In a trial.
Excellent.
We'll talk about the details at trial.
Okay, people, like this writer, I hope that you will speak with him, Leah, sometime, because he obviously doesn't understand what post-conviction relief is. Post-conviction relief is not a trial. Post-conviction relief is to open the door to potentially have a trial.
Yes.
You know, and he's not saying anything here that makes any sense. He is not here at this point to prove himself not innocent.
Right.
He is here at this point to get this freaking plea deal with the appellate waivers thrown out so that he has an opportunity.
All he has to do
finally learns what happened.
All he has to do, and I believe he did that when we're going to read it in Bryan Kohberger's own handwriting. All he has to do is show that there was a miscarriage of justice, that they lied to him and they coerced him and they told him fabricated stuff and they withheld exculpatory information. When he lays out that they withheld exculpatory information from him, that itself is a grounds for appeal.
And
for sure.
I do think that IGG thing is going to be a big deal with the privacy. Being that how Cy Ray, I think it's going to be a huge deal, without getting a warrant that they, I think that's going to be huge.
All right, let's continue. I mean, we're going to be here all night, but let's continue. Mr. Kohberger, who had court-appointed representation throughout the case, ended with his guilty plea, said he had prepared the documentation to challenge the case on his own. Kohberger has been, I've been told he was going to like accessing books at the law library, and he's been doing this, been working on his own.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Now, I couldn't prove it, but I've been told that. He requested to have a lawyer appointed to help him go, what? I'm sorry, Brian. You don't want Ann Taylor to help you with this? You want a lawyer appointed? No,
actually,
he needs John Ray. That's what he needs.
That's on the form. Lee, we've been waiting for this for quite a long time, and the form that is given to prisoners by the Department of Corrections, a form for post-conviction relief. One of the questions on there: are you indigent? Would you like appellate counsel? Because I think he did a really good job here, but it needs to be cleaned up, to citations to the law. Because if Hitler denies it, then it's got to be appealed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So in a handwritten filing made public by the court officials, which we're going to look at right after this article, we're going to look at the handwriting of Bryan Kohberger as he submits his appeal. In the handwritten filing made public by court officials on Monday, Mr. Kohberger focused on a claim of ineffective legal counsel. Listen, that is one of the required options in post-conviction relief, ineffective assistance of counsel. Twice I can think of, I was just talking to Troubled Ocean about this today, twice. One, Ann Taylor asked for a continuance in this case a while ago and said, we are not prepared for trial. I need more time. Hitler said no. Ann Taylor put on the record, without more time, I cannot effectively defend my client. That is ineffective assistance of counsel all day long. I am not effectively able to defend my client without a continuance. And he said, you don't get one. So that's the grounds right there. She also had stated, Troubled Ocean and I were talking about this, and she also stated, Ann Taylor also made a statement that she's having difficulty getting Bryan Kohberger to work with her in his own defense. which is an argument for an ineffective assistance. I can't effectively assist my client because my client isn't able to communicate with me in the way that I need to defend him. So twice Ann Taylor has stated that she is ineffective as a counselor. So Kohberger's filing ineffective legal counsel and wants a new lawyer. He said that his lawyers failed to disclose. This is the monster. He said his lawyers failed to disclose or review exculpatory evidence and had made promises about what life in prison would look like, including details about visits and employment. These pledges, he said, had induced him to agree to the plea.
Garza versus Idaho, right here. That's it. That's it.
Bryan Kohberger didn't even get told about the hair in Ethan's hand. Right. And I've got a quote. I got a quote from Kohberger saying that. I've also got Brent Turvey when the reporter tries to say, listen, a reporter just fuck, like Cy Ray said, it's one hair. It's not a clump. It's one hair. And a reporter said the same thing. So he wants to have a hair tested. Turvey said again on his Facebook page, and I got a quote of it, it's not a hair. It's a clump of hair. They're fucking lying.
Right.
They're lying to people. It's a clump of hair, but they can say, oh, it's just one hair. It's one strand of hair. It doesn't mean
what about the clump of hair on the floor? What about the clump of hair on the floor?
All right.
They're
and
assholes.
You can make reference to that. I know people like, well, why should you trust Turvey over Cy Ray with this? Well, what I could say is
because he's been vindicated now.
And well, Cy Ray was the phone expert. Okay, he may have 20 years of experience in doing crime scene stuff. Turvey was the physical. He was involved in evaluating the physical evidence and
crime
from
scene
what we
specialist.
know, right? Crime scene specialist, and for what we know from what they've given us. Turvey went to the lab. He went there. I don't remember hearing Cy Ray went to the lab.
Did not.
So Turvey went there, and he went there.
May I jump tail on Professor Wan because he gave an excellent. But I have a point that I think will take us over to the end zone here. Who decides whether an expert gets in front of the jury? That would be a certain Judge Stephen J. Hippler. Judge Hippler in court orders that came out even before we got the Turvey report, spoke very admiringly for Detective Brett, for Dr. Turvey. He called Cy Ray a conspiracy theorist.
Well,
in public, he lost his cool. He never did that. Cy Ray might not have even gotten before that jury.
I want to clarify one thing, because I've got somebody who, and I'm a stickler for words too, but I got somebody who somebody got mad at me. Stephen Hippler never called him a conspiracy theorist. The exact words were something to, I'm not going to listen to conspiracy theories. So it's splitting hairs, but he didn't flat out call him a conspiracy theorist. He said, I'm not going to listen to a bunch of conspiracy theories, supposedly. I didn't, but
he was talking about that arrogant affidavit that he put together, thinking that he is judge and jury. You're not. You're not Cy Ray. I called you arrogant a year and a half ago when you agreed to be part of that ridiculous alibi defense. You were going to get in front of that jury and tell the jury not to find Mr. Kohberger guilty because he couldn't have been there. He was somewhere else. And now you want to get on and you want to poison the mind of a jury pool? Right. Why didn't you resign from the case? I want to ask him that. Why didn't you resign from the case? What? Because you wanted the publicity? Because I sure as heck never heard about you until you got involved in this case. How dare you? He hired you.
Right here.
Not Ann Taylor. He hired you.
Yeah.
He had to sell this program right here, Miss Kathy. Right here.
That's right. And Dago, I want to ask you a question. Ann Taylor wasted no time in going after Brent Turvey, who didn't give an opinion on whether Mr. Kohberger was guilty or innocent. He just gave an opinion that there was problems with the case. Within 24 hours, she's all over him. Where is the same admonishment for Cy Ray?
Thank you.
Who declared your client and his client guilty? Ann C. Taylor, where is it?
That's right.
Real quick. I want to address. We got to move on to finish this article, but I want to address this real quick. Both Whitcomb and Turvey talked about a clump of hair in Ethan's hand. When asked about that clump of hair in Ethan's hand by the custody queens, Cy Ray laughed at them and said, it's not a clump of hair. It's one hair. So he is talking about the same thing. It's not two different things they're talking about.
Yeah, it's the same
He's
piece
talking
of
about
evidence.
the same thing, and he
Right.
and Cyree, he said it. He said that Turvey is lying. He said it. He said
It was
he's
still
lying.
in Ethan's hand. It's the same piece of evidence.
I saw hair that was glued to the bed, just as Turvey said when we went back and looked at that bed
right.
frame.
And that's more than one hair. That's more than one hair. The hair
Yes,
that's
it
glued
is.
to the bed frame.
Same with the floor.
And the clump of hair on the floor. All right, let's get through this article so we can read Brian's words itself and break it down. After he was arrested in December 2022, Mr. Kohberger's initial lawyer said that his client was eager to be exonerated. Court-appointed lawyers spent more than 2 years challenging the evidence collected against Mr. Kohberger, only for a surprise plea deal that came together a few weeks before a trial was to begin. Mr. Kohberger accepted responsibility for the murders at a July 2025 hearing. He was not required to offer a motive for the killings and never has. The lack of a detailed confession outraged some of the victims' family members and even President Trump, who had called on the judge to demand an explanation from Mr. Kohberger. But the reason why he didn't allocute is because I would argue he was thinking that was a formality to do the plea deal. We were still planning post-conviction relief. I think he was still planning post-conviction relief then, which is why he wasn't going to give you the explanation of what he did, because he isn't admitting guilt. It's a formality. Yes, Mr. Kohberger responded when asked, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? In the court, the judge asked, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes, Mr. Kohberger responded.
He had to.
He had to,
Yeah.
or the deal would have been off. He
Right.
later sat in silence at the sentencing, at which family members of the victims expressed their grief and anger. In the early morning hours of November 13th, after a typical Saturday night out, the 4 victims were stabbed to death in an off-campus home. The bodies of Madison Moog, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to read about, we know who all the victims were. The 2 surviving, and I'm not being disrespectful to the victims. What I'm saying is that's just, it's,
Right.
it's foundation. We all know it. 2 surviving roommates were in the bedroom at the home's first floor. One of them reported seeing a shadowy figure in the middle of the night and hearing a commotion, but the roommates did not seek help until later in the morning, saying they did not realize what had transpired. One of the experts who worked on Mr. Kohberger's defense team has taken a particular issue with the plea arrangement and evidence. Brent Turvey, a forensic scientist who analyzed the crime scene for the defense, argued that the crime was committed by multiple perpetrators and criticized how investigators documented evidence and questioned why more testing was not done of a hair. Notice how he says a hair found with one of the victims. That's the line from this reporter that pisses me off the most. Why didn't you test a hair? Why didn't you test the clump of hair they were talking about? The hair that's glued to the bed frame, which is more than one hair. The hair that was torn out by the roots in the bed up with Maddie and Kaylee. It's not just one hair.
Right.
This attitude
No.
of, why didn't you test a hair? A hair?
That's their way of downplaying it, Lee.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're splitting hairs, folks. We're splitting hairs.
Splitting a hair.
Splitting a hair. All right. The lawyers who served as Mr. Kohberger's defense team have rebuked Mr. Turvey. So the lawyers themselves shit on their own defense expert, Mr. Turvey, telling Idaho Statesman that he is now speaking about topics that are still confidential, many of which are outside his areas of expertise.
But Cy rated
Right?
it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's hysterical.
You know what,
Oh
you
my
guys,
God.
because it kind of makes me wonder now if this is why Miss Taylor came back at Turvey the way she did. Okay. Now, if this is why she got so defensive and so irate with him the way she did, because she didn't want this to be put out to the public.
Yeah,
She didn't want people
exactly.
That's my thought on this,
Yeah,
Kathy.
maybe she-
Well, and you know what? Oh, she couldn't give 2 poops about her client, who they're there for, who got thrown under the bus by Cyree. Oh, that's okay.
Yep.
Think
So-
about this,
so what is
Dago.
it?
Think about what you're saying, Dago, because I think you're absolutely right. Ann Taylor didn't apparently tell her client about the clump of hair in Ethan's hand, about how they still had, and why is it a big deal? Some say, well, they knew about that from the very beginning. Yes, but what they didn't know was that hair was now in the possession, for example, of the FBI or MPD, depending on which one is going to point the finger at each other. And so maybe they didn't have access to it. But when Turvey went to the crime scene locker and saw the bed frame and the same hair still glued to the frame, he said, you don't have to get it from them. It's fucking right there. Test it. The hair is right there. You can see it. That's the thing she didn't tell Kohberger. The hair was still available and they could still get it tested. It was
And
right
look-
there.
Yep.
And
And,
she
look
didn't
where
tell
we're at
Kohberger
right
about
now. Now that
Yeah.
that has been put out to the world, look what's happening.
Now, and you know what? You know what else, Dago? What's she fighting about? She doesn't want her bills to go public.
Of course
Then
not.
why would you care what you were paid? Why would you care what you
Exactly.
were paid? Right?
Great
And I want
question,
to
isn't it?
remember. I think that this may have been brewing for a while because Kohberger never missed a hearing.
Right.
The only hearing he missed was in November. Remember when they went back because the families wanted more?
Yes.
Kohberger
yes.
wasn't present then.
Right.
And he's never spoken a word, I think, because he was planning this.
Yeah.
And I
And
think,
I
Makes
think-
perfect sense.
and
I think
the
one
reason
of the things that she does not want to come to light is how much money was or was not spent on testing, and what testing was in fact done can be traced through finances.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Good point. Now, and we can also find out how much money was spent on stupid
Yes.
Well,
motions in
right.
limine.
well, remember
And you're not
listening
looking to get the sheath thrown out because we're
Right,
too busy
remember,
we're going to spend 2.5 years working on IgG DNA, and then suddenly, oops, my bad. We're not going to
Yeah.
introduce it at trial, and we're going to tell the jury some BS story that
Yep.
Detective Brett Payne first learned
Yeah,
about Kohberger
remember,
on the 19th. And don't ask
remember-
any questions.
remember what Steve G said in some of his recent interview too. He was talking about like testing certain things, and he said that certain tests weren't done because they cost too much money, and he was talking all about
Yep.
that. So
And again, to go back to the point that I was making before, which I feel like if Ann Taylor didn't tell her client right before he took the plea deal, so she's fucking think of this scenario. Ann Taylor's preparing Bryan Kohberger to take a plea deal. Hey, look, this is in your best interest. It's just a formality. You should do this. We're going to give you all these things. You're going to have access to your family. You're going to get visitations, all of which he's going to say they lied to him about. He didn't get any of that shit. I've been told, by the way, not to start a shitstorm right now, I've been told that he's never received any of the letters anybody's been sending him, that Bryan Kohberger has not been given the letters that people have been sending him.
That is correct. Yes.
Wow.
That's
Nothing.
fucking, that should be illegal. You have the right to communicate.
You know why? Think
That's
about
messing
why.
with your.
Think about why he
your
hasn't
mail.
gotten those.
Because they don't want him to hear about the hair. They don't want him to hear
Or
about the
anything.
case. And that's
Thank
why
you.
Ann Taylor lost her shit when Turvey came forward, because that could get back to Kohberger somehow. Although they're doing their best to make sure maybe that he doesn't get his letters so that nobody can tell him. Like, how the
Yeah.
fuck did he even find out about it?
That's
Yeah,
what I want to
exactly.
know, Lee. I
But I
want to
don't
know
know.
how he found out about
I
it.
have an idea as to how.
How?
Somebody that,
Dago, how?
you know who Willie is, Kathy?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You know,
His
okay.
friend,
Willie
right.
Willie has been speaking on and off with Brian's dad, that because they live within like a couple miles of each other. He sees him in public from time to time, and has been trying to get the word to him that he needs to look into certain things. Well, Willie was on my panel this morning, and I do believe this is exactly where it come from.
Wow.
He said he's been pushing and pushing and pushing, and everybody's screaming like, "You got to talk to his parents. You got to tell them they need to know about this, this, and this." Well, now
right.
here we are.
That's
And his
probably
parents-
that's probably what it is. But yeah,
I
because
believe
Ann's
it was
not
Willie
Ann's-
talking to Mike. Yeah.
right, because she's not going to be able to stop Kohberger from talking
She
to his
can't.
parents.
Right. And his parents started looking into things from my understanding and said, no. And again, in Brian's letter, he states that his parents were involved in with almost every single interaction it had, and they were lied to as well. So they just believe the same things. They don't know any different. That Brian was being told. And you know what? It makes me wonder now, not just the discovery that was being dropped at this point. I got to wonder how much other stuff was he not shown throughout this entire trial.
Thank
this
you.
entire thing.
You have
If
to
he's
wonder
not- if
how
he's
much
not
he
shown
wasn't
this,
shown. Yeah.
He's
Right.
not shown this.
Right. So there's got to be
And-
massive amounts of other shit, in my opinion.
And again, that has to be, in my opinion, illegal as well. The defendant has a right to know the evidence that's being presented against them, and his attorney needs to show him the discovery. When the attorney asks for discovery, it's not for her; it's for the defendant. He's allowed to see the evidence presented against him. We have a right to face
Right.
our accusers and see the
It's
evidence against
right.
us. He needs
Yeah.
to see his own evidence. If he didn't get to see the discovery,
Every bit of
that's
it.
a major problem, in my opinion. All right, let's continue this article so we can get through this and we can read Kohberger's words. The chat's going nuts and they want our opinions on things. They're like, well, as soon as Lee gets done busting his fucking blood cell, maybe he'll answer these questions. Mr. Kohberger alluded to these issues in his statement, saying that unanswered questions seem to multiply with each piece of discovery unsealed. What have we been saying on this show? Every fucking time a new document comes out, the story
Yeah.
changes.
This story
Right.
changes
Yep.
every
Every
time.
time.
Right.
Every
Kohberger's
time.
saying the same thing. Every single time something comes out, there's more problems. There's more problems. He said he was okay that a new trial would mean the prospect of a potential death penalty. Kohberger's okay with facing the death penalty. All he wants is a trial, the trial he was supposed to get. Why am I breaking my silence? Mr. Kohberger said Sunday in the interview from the Idaho Maximum Security Institution just south of Boise. A lot went wrong in this plea discussion. I really want to be heard.
See how smart he is? He's not
Yeah.
saying, oh, what happened in Latah County in 2023. He's focused on the plea discussions, the sentence, and the conviction, because that's what he's got to do for post-conviction relief. It's not an appeal.
Yes, right. Somebody in here was saying this is not an appeal, people. Yes, we know it's not an appeal. It's post-conviction relief. It's kind of a form of appeal, but it's not the appeal, and it's not accepted yet. It hasn't been granted to him. It's just, but where we're going with it is for all you people who said Kohberger's guilty because he said so, he's now telling you he's not, and the only reason he said so is because his attorney advised him to do so. You need to listen.
Often.
I only said I was guilty because my attorney told me it was in my best interest to say that.
This is you
People
might see
plead
some
guilty
you might see
all
you might
the
see some
time.
people in chains, and they might not be Mr. Kohberger by the time
That's
this is all
right.
said and
That's
I
done.
know.
right.
Yes.
I totally agree. In the plea agreement that Mr. Kohberger signed, he acknowledged that he knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently waives all rights to appeal. So this is where they're like, look, you're done. You can bitch all you want. You're not going to get another trial. But, nah, it's not quite that simple.
Here's why I don't think Hitler's going to dismiss this, because
Right.
he's going to want to be involved in that.
Yeah.
Did you tell me blah blah blah?
That
you
was
know?
my question too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still, defendants can make other claims about the legal process through post-conviction relief. And that's exactly what Kohberger is filing.
Finally.
Post-conviction relief. Mr. Kohberger was raised in Pennsylvania and had written online as a teenager that he felt no emotion. See, here
we
again
go.
comes with, this is how you should feel about Kohberger. This is the guy who has no feelings, no emotion, was suicidal and viewed himself as sickly, tired, useless, and
Bullshit.
stupid. He later turned to heroin, friends said. He got sober and earned a master's degree. So look, and then became enthralled with serial killers. This whole paragraph is the poisoning the minds of Americans.
Propaganda.
Absolutely. You know,
Anything-
I'd like to hear about this guy's teenager, or his if he's not old enough.
Or the rest of us
these
when
are
we
a
were
lot
teenagers.
Visual
they're
snow,
ominous. You know, they experiment with drugs. They're moody. I want to see your teenager and
Thank
what
you.
your teenager did in high school.
What did
Mr.
you do
Writer.
when you were in high school, Mr. Baker?
What'd you do when you were in high school?
Thank
Turncoat.
you.
So here's the
Remember
last.
the
This,
medium.
this is the last paragraph of this article. Another kind of hit things. That in 2022, he moved to Pullman, entered the PhD criminology thing, where he applied for an internship with the local police department. But his term at the university was sullied after he got a clash with a professor at the university, and they fired him from his teacher. So again, he's a bad guy who has no emotion, suicidal. He's a drug addict. Got fired from school, and that's why he killed everybody. This is the
Right.
paragraph. This is how you should feel about Kohberger.
Bullshit.
Because this is what we've been telling you for 3 years.
Does
or 4 years.
anybody know if this professor? I've never been able to try, confirm or deny or whatever. Professor Snyder, any relation to the canine cop?
Oh, I
No idea.
Oh, we got to track
That's a
that
good-
down. Oh, here we go. Nice.
All right. So
That's
this
a
is
good
the
question.
actual. This is the actual handwriting of Bryan Kohberger. Everybody's going to pick on his handwriting. See, that's a psychopath's handwriting.
Well,
Can't you
let
tell?
me let me put something out, you guys, real quick. Let me say
Yeah.
something. We all know that Bryan was diagnosed with dyspraxia. Okay. Now, pay attention to Bryan Kohberger's handwriting. Okay, through the whole thing. And no offense to Bryan, because it's probably not his fault. It looks like a 10 or a 12-year-old kid wrote this. Okay, because he has functional issues within his hands and feet because he has dyspraxia. Now, that sounds like somebody that can't even hold a pen or a pencil the correct way, can hold a knife and kill 4 people. Think on
I
it,
don't
folks.
think
That's
so.
all I'm saying.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, because people again will see what they want to see. They'll see the handwriting as proof that he's a degenerate. That look, he can't even write normally. Shit, I can't write normally. Am I criminal too?
You should see my
Anyways.
handwriting.
No.
This is filed July 27th.
This morning.
That's today.
Yes.
And so here you go. Bryan Kohberger is the petitioner against the state of Idaho. By the way, we have a case number. So there's a new case number to follow as well. And here's the bad news. It goes to Stephen Hippler. Yep, it does go to Stephen Hippler.
Well, we knew that.
Okay, so the petitioner alleges, and this is all Kohberger's filing here. He's in the Idaho Maximum Security Institution at Ada County Courthouse, and the address.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just seeing this because I had the affidavit. I didn't have this. He is using the form. We published it about a month ago that he was given in the prison. This is the exact form. I'm telling you right now, this is the exact form. Okay.
So he was convicted of 4 counts of capital murder with felony burglary. Sentenced on July 23rd for life without parole plus 10 years. Check whether any of the following guilty were made after the guilty plea. Did you appeal? Did you appeal from the judgment of conviction? No. And so there's the blank for the docket number. So listen to this. State concisely all the grounds on which you base your application for post-conviction relief. Ineffective assistance of counsel, which is what we all said it was going to be. Ineffective. Assistance of counsel during the criminal proceedings. B, plea not knowingly or voluntarily entered because it was induced by unkept promises.
Wow.
The plea not voluntarily entered because of threats asserted by petitioner's legal counselor. Kohberger's own counsel basically had scared him into saying, you don't want to be on death row, sir. We did a tour of the jail. It's horrible. You don't want to be there. So he was given threats. He was said, hey, things won't be so bad. You'll have family visits in prison. And all of this led to, and he wasn't told about exculpatory evidence.
Lee, this is as shocking as it gets because I've looked at so many petitions for post-conviction relief, and a lot of times they'll assert ineffective, and they'll say, hey, I wanted this motion filed. We disagreed. She wouldn't file for an appeal. That's the Garza case. Wouldn't file for an appeal when I've never seen my attorney lied to me. I haven't seen withheld. This is bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yes. Prior to this position, have you ever a petition? Have you filed with respect to this conviction? And he said no. Any other petitions? No. And then there's more room for him to explain if he did say yes. If your application is based upon the failure of counsel to adequately represent you, state concisely and in detail what counsel failed to do in representing your interests. Failure to disclose or review exculpatory evidence, i.e. unknown hair in Chapin's hand. His attorney never told him about it. Are you kidding me? Are you
listen, everybody, before we start going crazy, now we're going to have, okay, I'm sure, would he have said this if he can't back it up? Would he have said this if he can't back it up? Taylor is going to have to show that she did bring this to his attention.
Right.
All right.
Look, this is the rest of the sentence is important. During plea discussions, while Kohberger is literally talking about the possibility that maybe I'll enter a plea deal, they're not telling him, hey, by the way, we just found that there's still a clump of hair that we can test of the hair in Ethan. They're not telling him while engaging him in plea discussions. That's the big part of that sentence as well.
That should have shut the plea discussion down right there.
Right
yeah,
there.
that's why Turvey, Ann didn't want Turvey talking about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
Point B, counsel's insistence that the petitioner's plea need not be truthful. His attorney told him it doesn't have to be the truth. What you say during the plea deal doesn't have to be true. That's what Kohberger just said. My attorney told me it doesn't have to be correct. You
have been, Lee, we have said before, we want it to be a fly on the wall at the sitting room.
Yeah.
When Turvey walks in and Brett Payne and he's pointing to that. Now, I want to be a fly on the wall today in Hitler's chambers when he's reading this.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right. He's thinking in his mind what he's going to ask Kohberger.
These 2 points alone, I almost shit myself. Like, you literally didn't get told about the hair, and your attorney told you, hey, look, you admitting guilt doesn't really mean anything. You can go ahead and admit guilt. It doesn't mean anything. He literally was lied to by
I want to see I'd love to see what Hitler says to Taylor.
So,
if anything.
And this all better. All I got to say, Judge Hitler, if you're listening, this all needs to be televised.
Let me reread that sentence because it kept going. Counsel's insistence that the petitioner, Kohberger's plea, need not be truthful, despite the petitioner, Kohberger, vehemently denying guilt. Kohberger, during the fucking plea, was still saying, I didn't do it. And she's like, hey, don't worry. You just gotta say you do. You just got to say you did it.
It's no big deal.
I realize you're still saying you're innocent, but you need to tell the judge you did it. That's literally what Kohberger's saying his attorney told him.
And that's proof that she was playing him right there.
Oh my God! This should disgust people.
It gets worse and worse with every word you're reading here, Lee.
It does.
C, promises made by the council regarding LWAP status, i.e., immediate contact from visitors, freedom of movement and employment, were elaborate and lies of death row life. So what he's saying was he was promised that if he took the plea deal, he'd have family contact, be able to immediately, he'd be able to see people, he'd have freedom to move about, he would get to have a job employed in the prison system.
Yep.
He chose a life that would be like, okay, look, as long as I get to see my friends and family and I can have some kind of a life, that's okay. That was a lie. What that means is they didn't do any of those things. They told him he was going to do that and it didn't happen. And now he's like, hey, what the fuck? You lied to me. You told me that I was going to have visitors. I could have employment. None of that's been given to him. And they lied to him about the death row circumstances to intimidate him into taking the plea deal.
Yes. And why this is so extraordinarily important is because Garza is an effective assistance of counsel. You get to get out of your waiver of appellate rights in your plea deal in order to post-conviction relief. But Garza cites to Washington a case out of Florida that says it's a high standard in order to show ineffective. And that's where your friend out of Seattle says that these all fail. You have to show two things. You have to show that it was material and that it would have made a difference. In other words, if she wasn't told, hey, you could get a job, you could be able to see your family right away, you're going to get vegan meals and all this other stuff, he would have elected to go to trial. That's why this is so important.
And yes, and you know what the scariest part is? She wasn't going to say a word. Nobody was going to say a word.
Nope.
And they were going to let this roll off into September and off into the wind it goes.
Yeah, who's gonna,
and they're furious that he got wind of it before his time ran out. Are you seeking leave to proceed in forma pauperis, meaning basically I'm too broke to defend myself? Are you seeking leave to proceed in forma pauperis, that is requesting the proceeding to be at the county's expense? If yes, you must fill out a motion. So yes,
because he's got a filing fee. You know, when you file a lawsuit, you have to pay a filing fee.
And he's saying, I'm broke. I can't afford to defend myself. I hope to God somebody takes up a I think a big lawyer needs to take this case pro bono and then raise money. And again, I realize a lot of platforms won't let you raise money because you're not allowed to raise money for a murderer. He's a convicted murderer, and you're not allowed. They won't allow you to raise money, even though it's a question of whether or not it was right, whether it was the right conviction. Are you requesting the appointment of a counsel to represent you in this case? If your answer is yes, you must fill out a motion of appointment of counsel supporting the affidavit. Yes, he wants an
He's filed that. That's in already.
Yeah. And he doesn't want fucking Ann Taylor. He wants a different lawyer. State specifically what relief you're asking: a withdrawal of the guilty plea. So his request in the post-conviction is, I want to withdraw my plea and I want to have a trial. Now, some of you are going to say, too fucking bad. You pled guilty and you had the opportunity, but you said that he literally told you. His attorney told him, listen, your attorney is the one who's the expert in law, not you. If your attorney who's the expert in law tells you this is just a formality, it's going to go better for you if you do this, this will help you. Trust me, you'll still have options. Blah. If you trust your lawyer, just like I don't argue with my doctor if he says I need to fucking remove your fucking kidney. I'm like, oh fuck, I guess you need to do it. I don't go, you know what? I'm not sure. I need to fucking argue with you about it. Like, you're the doctor. She's the lawyer. So she told him this was going to be in his best interest, and she lied. That's what he's saying. So the petitioner may be accompanied by affidavits in support of the petition. This was dated on the 22nd, but it was filed today.
Well, it took a few days. I had to go through the mail.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in fact, there's a picture of the mailing that he mailed it out. This is where he certifies that he signed it.
Yeah, we know that signature.
Certificate of mailing.
Oh.
Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Moscow. It's Bryan KOHBERGER.
And good night.
Good morning, Washington, D.C. In about 2 years, Lee, when he's before the Supreme Court.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, let's keep going. Here's a longer statement. Here we go. Affidavit. There's going to be more. There's more. Affidavit of facts in support of your post-conviction relief. Bryan KOHBERGER, being first duly sworn an oath, poses and says, It is hereby declared that during attorney-client discussions, most of which included all members of Bryan C. Kohberger's immediate family, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess to capital murder.
Have you
and
ever
felony
in your
murder.
life seen anything
Wow.
like this?
Wow.
This
40
is insane.
years of reading true crime.
Never, Kathy, never.
Ever.
It's the most
This
shocking
insanity.
shit to read.
This is, but wait a second. It is this was going to be the trial of the year. The people
Right.
around the world for mass. I've never seen anything like this before
Never.
in my life.
Never.
So Bryan Kohberger with his immediate family, with his family there. That's the thing. They flew his family out and they told him
Yep.
and his family, this is in your son's best interest to admit to a crime he didn't do, 4 counts of capital murder and burglary. It's in your son's best interest to take this deal. That's what they told him and his family.
You know what, Lee? And this now dispels all 4 of them are now involved in this.
Yep.
To the
Yep.
point where they, if Hitler, allows for some discovery, they're all going to be able to depose Mrs. Kohberger, Mr. Kohberger, the 2 sisters.
Yeah.
So much for, I took
Absolutely.
this plea deal to protect my family.
Right.
Right.
All right, so let's continue. I'm going to go back here. So with his immediate family, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess to capital murder and felony burglary by coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of exculpatory evidence. The following is
God.
material to the inception of a plea. Counsel's
There you
failure
go.
to inform the petitioner of exculpatory discovery received during the plea discussions. That's what Turvey said. I came to Ann Taylor during the weeks when they're getting ready to seat the jury and said,
Yep.
holy shit, there's exculpatory information here. You need to fucking do something with this. She didn't tell Kohberger that. She didn't tell that was going on.
They had better televise this deposition from Alaska of Dr. Brent Turvey. I'm telling
my
you,
God.
man, I'm watching it. I don't care
I gotta
when it's
wonder
on.
now if Miss Taylor's gonna end up needing some kind of counsel herself.
Mhm.
Counsel's
Oh, 100%.
Counsel's failure to inform the petitioner of exculpatory evidence received during the plea discussions, namely clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands, as well as failure of further inquiry. So they didn't follow up on the hair. So that, and again, could Kohberger be wrong? Could there be no hair? Cyrus says, wait till you see the autopsy photos for yourself. How are we going to see that? They made it illegal for us to see it. But
Right.
supposedly, if we all get to see what's illegal for us to see, we're going to see that there's no hair in his hand.
Okay, we saw Brent
Right.
Turvey. We saw him on
Right.
camera.
But you heard what? and you
Why
heard
is
what
he going to
Wickham-
lie? Why
and
is
you
he
heard
going to lie?
what Wickham also said. Wickham said he saw the. He didn't go to the lab, but he said he saw the photo.
He saw
Wickham
the
told,
picture
Wickham
himself.
told me personally that he saw
Right.
the
Oh,
he
okay.
described how
so
it was.
Christopher Wickham is a liar. Brent Turvey's
Right.
a liar. Right?
Yep.
I don't-
So who here wonders if that hair's gonna disappear now?
I think
They got the
so.
photos of it. They got the
Someone
photos.
said the hair has
Oh,
already
that's right.
disappeared.
Good
Yeah.
call. Good call, Kath.
All right.
That's it.
But they won't be able to necessarily test it because it'll be destroyed as debris. So the hair won't be there to test,
Right.
which will make it so that you can't get the actual culprit. Like sorry, we destroyed that hair, so you can't prove it was or wasn't.
That's on you. That's on you. That's on the state.
That is
Well,
going to be.
they've
on
already
them. It's
tried to
gonna make
play
a
it
major
off as
problem.
if it was Ethan's hair to begin with. So
Hey, listen to this.
Peti-
Okay,
Yeah.
what if it was Kohberger's here? What if it was? Hey, evidence is gone. Going to work in his
Yeah.
favor.
Right.
Any way around, he comes out a winner in this.
shouldn't have
Right.
played the
Right.
game.
All right. Petitioner was convinced. Bryan Kohberger was convinced that actual guilt was not an important factor in considering a plea acceptance.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
My God.
He was convinced by his attorney. Whether you did it or not, it's really not important. You just got to say you did.
Who says that?
His attorney.
My God.
Death row was imminent, and he was advised to lie. Petitioner was to gain a legal victory in entering a false plea. Your victory is you don't get executed. This will be a victory for you. We'll get you some better conditions. He kind of sounded like he negotiated better conditions. Hey, you'll get a bigger cell. You'll get access to family.
You get your 3
you'll get all
meals a
these things,
day.
3
You don't
meals
have to
a
deal
day.
with people.
Well, yeah, and you won't get the death penalty. So he's like, under those conditions, okay, maybe it's better than fucking whatever. but he was lied to about all of it. A gross misrepresentation of and promises regarding what a life sentence would immediately afford the petitioner, and a gross misrepresentation of death row in Idaho, including an elaborate fabricated story of counsel's horrific experience touring an actual 8x8 death row cell.
Ooh, we heard about this. We heard about this, didn't we?
We heard. Was Kohberger taken and shown the cells and got scared? It's a little bit more complex. Counsel. He wasn't taken. His counsel went and looked and came back and told Kohberger, "Oh fuck, you want no part of that shit."
They claimed that, Lee. I don't think it said it was fabricated. It never happened.
That's what he's saying. Yeah, it was horrific. Yeah, it was fabricated. A fabricated story about we went and saw the cells. It's horrible. You don't want to be there. All communicated to the petitioner, Kohberger, and his family. So they tell his family, "Oh my God, your son's going to be in such horrible conditions if he goes there. You don't want to have him there."
Hey,
so
Brian, they're bringing back the firing squad just for you, or they're going to expedite it. So you got maybe 6 months.
His poor mother. I 100%, Kathy. I said that before too. I said, I got to wonder if they threatened him that they were going to fast track the death penalty on him, knowing we know it won't happen, but obviously he doesn't know any of this stuff. And his poor mother was probably half stroking out hearing all this. And said, you know what I mean? So
now your mother from Brooklyn, her only son.
Yep.
And listen, this is what he says. Listen to this sentence. His family, this was all done, told about the horrible conditions he'd been if he goes to death row in front of his family by IDOC through counsel, thus constituting threats and promises made to induce a plea. So they are using it to scare him into a plea deal. Look, man, it's going to be really bad for you, which is tantamount to a threat in front of his family. It's going to go really bad for you if you don't take the plea deal.
Absolute manipulation.
We'll hook you up. We'll hook you up.
For the past 6 months, I've been up and down that docket trying to figure out what happened in the last days. I want to thank Brian Kohberger for explinging it to me.
Yes,
exactly.
Anyways,
none of us understood that. Well, here it is.
Letter. Yeah. So is everybody spun up or what? You should be spun up. By this. You should be really spun
out. Completely spun out on this. I agree with Kathy. Never in my life have I imagined this or ever seen anything like this in all the cases I've seen or read about how this could ever happen. Ever.
But it makes sense though, Dago, doesn't it? It makes sense.
Does. It makes everything make sense now. 100%. Now we know why the plea deal was taken. Absolutely. Sorry, Robin, go ahead.
Everyone should be furious. Furious, because this could be your son, it could be your brother, it could be your daughter sitting there in one of these fucking cells.
It could be
lied
you.
To by your attorneys, told fabrications and stories, horror stories, to get you to agree to something that you didn't fucking do.
Yep.
Oh man, I love it.
You should be.
And I gotta wonder.
Out there.
I gotta wonder. You gotta wonder why. Why? What was Ann promised to do this? You gotta wonder. Was she promised? Was it something like that, or was it something else?
I think this is Robin's excellent speech. From the heart. Everyone, if you don't think that this could happen to you, because it seems to me that these stalkers who go around on different channels to see what people are writing, to then go and make fun of them because they want to gaslight, would be the first ones to be out there demanding due process, because it doesn't, and they think they're going to win brownie points, kissing up the cops because they're cop groupies. Go back and kiss your 8x10 poster of Brett Kane that you got on your wall, Jay. I'm not going to name who you are, but you do.
It's not 8x10. It's like a 3x2.
So I'm gonna read to you. I think I'm gonna show you a bunch of screenshots of things. I'm not 100% sure where this came from. Someone says I believe it's Brian Kohberger himself on a digital format, so I don't know exactly how it how it came about, but let me read this. So this is supposedly from KOHBERGER,
Wow.
and it's dated on the 26th. So this is the night that he filed it. This is the night that he filed that he was basically getting ready to file. Over a year later, it is self-evident that in State versus KOHBERGER, justice was not served. Unanswered questions seem to multiply with each piece of discovery unsealed.
Sounds like us.
Yeah,
Sounds
and
like
the public demands the truth. Unfortunately, the truth shall never be derived from the state's myopic narrative, narrow-sighted narrative. They decided who was going down for it, and that's all that they went for. Narrow-sighted, a work of fiction which has yet to evolve since the PCA was released nearly 4 years ago, and its faulty premises were never challenged at trial. Circumnavigated by a broken plea. Plea. Isn't it funny? It's like the name of the book. It's like circumnavigated by a broken plea. The trial never provided the public with the clarity conducive to its closure, and justice shall remain objectively miscarried. There's your Hunter appeal right there. An abject failure of the system. Justice was an abject miscarriage of justice.
Wait, this is KOHBERGER talking to the media. This is his statement from yesterday?
Yes, this is KOHBERGER, yeah.
Oh, I thought I wrote this.
Yeah. I hereby declare my intention to enter a not guilty. This is probably the message that went out and got the reporter to go do the interview real quick with him.
Oh, yeah.
I hereby declare my intention to enter a not guilty plea and welcome the state opportunity to prove their case at trial, as well as to again file for the death penalty. So yeah, he's saying, go ahead. You want to execute me? File the death penalty again. I'm okay with that. My actual innocence is my truth. And the plea hinged on by false promises and blatant disinformation must be withdrawn. Thank you for all who believed in my innocence and continue to critically analyze the case. I send my love to my family. Yeah, right. Who has never wavered in their belief in who I am and their belief of my innocence. So KOHBERGER thanks the community who are fighting and analyzing this case on a regular basis and keep it alive. And he says his family believes in his innocence like they have from the beginning. But they still convinced you in America that his family was going to turn on him.
Right, which is a joke. We all knew that. But I'm going to say real quick, if I can, please. Excuse me. For all you people that have been, like Kathy's been saying, strolling around channel to channel, saying what they've been saying, stalking. Yes, stalking. Every one of us that have spent days and nights and hours and years in here doing what we've been doing just to try to provide some truth, to prove that there has been injustice within this, to protect not only Bryan KOHBERGER or anybody, but all of you as well, because this can happen to every one of you. Please go take a fucking seat, shut up, and walk away from this at this point, because here it is in your face, and I'm fucking tired of defending myself against this shit. I'm done with it.
And let's now see what the Gonzalez's have to say about this situation.
Yeah, they released like two statements.
Here's some of it. First off, this is from the Gonzalez family page. First off, we are not surprised. Even though Bill Thompson said with the plea deal that all appeals would be waived, we knew that wasn't factual. Anyway, his time to plea was running out, September to be exact. Gonzalez family statement is this: the mosquito that you just can't seem to swat. That is what KOHBERGER and his following have become to this family. We read Mr. Baker's story, and he must be so proud of himself for speaking with Mr. KOHBERGER, because the story didn't have much else in it other than a guilty man claiming his innocence once again. Nothing in the story or in KOHBERGER's statements does he allude to the fact that he did not knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently admit to murdering the 4 victims in this tragedy: Kaylee, Maddie, Azana, and Ethan.
That's exactly what he said.
I know. Quite to the contrary, he appeared in court in a hearing in front of a judge with 4 of his lawyers, or his 4 lawyers. He did this after deciding not to have his fate and facts of the case up to a jury to decide his guilt. He never cried wolf or claimed that he was uninformed, pressured, or that there were issues with discovery.
Know.
Right. You can't know what you don't know, Dago.
That's it.
And that he and his counsel had for over 2 years that he thought he should have been allowed. Let's go to the next page. There's another one I can do. Let me pull this off so I don't accidentally show something on screen I will immediately regret.
Oh, this pisses me off so bad.
All right, add to stage. He should have been okay. He admitted to guilt and asked whether he should and asked whether he actually was guilty. He said, yes, I'm sure there will be a hearing, as that is how the legal process works. And the defendant will get another day in court, a nice break from his solitary confinement, getting to go for a ride, maybe some different food, photos taken and attention all back on his innocence. But the real issue is that if as much energy was put into honoring the victims in this case as trying to set a guilty man free, there would be statues of the victims on every corner, in parks, and days honoring their ultimate sacrifice, their lives at the hands of a narcissist. Regardless of how this turns out, our family is 100% ready. An actual trial this time, let's go. We are confident he will get the death penalty and that he escaped by pleading guilty the first time around. Moving on, LOL. Just an absolute waste of time and that taxpayers' money. It's a disgrace. I guess I better get me some death row record shirts for every day of the week now. Now, let me stop before my panel goes nuts on this. Here's the irony. She starts out by saying Kohberger's not going to get anything out of this. At best, he's going to get a ride to the courthouse and have a meal and a little ride, and then says, we welcome your trial. Well, which one is it, Christy? Is he wasting everyone's time and he's only going to get a ride and a meal and one day of fame, or is he getting another trial? Because it sounds like you said he's only going to get a free meal for the day, but now you're also saying he might get a trial. So I don't know.
They're still believing in that element that told them all these things that they were told in the beginning that were wrong, that they bitched about since this has happened. They're still believing that, obviously, because that's what she's saying. And I feel so bad saying that, but you know what? I'm sorry that this happened to you. I'm sorry that this happened to any of you. But guess what? Once again, like I said earlier, the blame, you're looking in the wrong direction to blame this, okay? You need to blame Bill Thompson, Latah County, Ada County, Stephen Hippler, Moscow PD, ISP.
Nancy
right
Taylor.
People. Nancy, yes. And Taylor, thank you.
This case didn't get sealed just because the judges signed orders to seal. They filed motion after motion, stipulation to seal the case. Ann Taylor did more to seal this case than Bill Thompson did. I will tell you that because number one started out with with convincing him to enter into a gag order as by stipulation. Marshall signed that day for the case. So we saw no interviews from anybody. She opposed having that gag order set aside after he changed plea. She did not, when the mass media went in, was taking photographs of Kohberger, his hands and stuff, she wanted no cameras in the courtroom. If Judge didn't overrule her and say that the county's cameras, we wouldn't have been able to see all of that, what we did.
You know what else makes sense now?
She's the one who is responsible. I'd like anyone who thinks that this is a made-up story to read the affidavit that was filed by the media in July when they were trying to get the case unsealed at that time.
Yes.
University of Idaho graduate, 25 years of experience following the courts in Idaho, AP reporter. She's qualifications up the yin yang. She said she never saw a case sealed like this. In the name of the First Amendment, you don't have, Kohberger's not going to trial anymore, Judge Hippler. Unseal this case. You can't say anymore it's to try to seat a jury that's unprejudiced. He refused.
Yeah, you can't unring this bell. Everybody knows about this case.
Yeah,
that's it. That's where the blame lies.
And to further and I keep repeating this, but I heard him say it myself, so I'm fairly confident I can keep saying it. I heard him say it myself. To further go along that idea, Kathy, about Ann Taylor being the one that wants to hide a bunch of stuff. And now we hear Kohberger saying that Ann Taylor didn't tell him about exculpatory evidence while she's negotiating the plea deal with him, while she doesn't tell her own client while trying to get him to take a plea about exculpatory evidence. Remember what Turvey said. Bryan Kohberger is not going anywhere as long as Ann Taylor is his attorney. But let's see who gets arrested. Let's see who gets arrested.
That's what he said.
See who gets arrested.
That's what he said. There's a criminal investigation going on right now. There's a criminal investigation going on into the Dateline leak. And he said, Kohberger's not going anywhere as long as she's his attorney, but let's see who gets arrested.
It makes you
everyone, let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to celebrate the Devil's Advocates team because they are the one that started everything by their incessant asking of Christopher Whitcomb to come on this show and to give an interview, and that broke everything loose. They went on other great podcasters, and then that brought Turvey out, and then finally the final nail in the coffin, Cy Ray. I don't know if anything would have happened here if Mr. Kohberger, the Kohberger family's listening, if you are going to be giving an interview at some time, it should be right here on the Devil's Advocate.
Yeah. Well,
Because there, you guys broke this open.
I
Good
appreciate
point.
that. I appreciate that. I mean, obviously Whitcomb was going to have his book come out, whether I got him there. I can't believe I got lucky enough to get the first interview. And again, I did have a lot of talks with Christopher Whitcomb where he said, look, man, you're the first person I agreed to do an interview with, and I'm going to honor that agreement. And he did. When they lost containment of the book and everybody was going wild and everybody was lining
Right.
up, he was like, I'm keeping my pledge with you. We're going live. Let's go. So that was an amazing thing. And I
Can
talked
you
to him for a
share
while
with
after
us
that as well.
stuff that you
Yeah.
spoke? Remember before, I've asked you before,
Yeah.
hey, promises are made to be broken, but you being an upstanding person that you are, refused. Is there anything now that you can share with us that he said to you? Did he suggest perhaps there would be post-conviction relief coming, Lee?
Yes, he did. He again, he
did.
He said it in an indirect way because I said, we've heard a post-conviction relief's coming. And his response was, well, my book's coming out. There's 2 whistleblowers coming out, a new Netflix documentary coming out, and it's all happening before post-conviction relief. So that was his way of telling me, in my opinion, that this was all part of the plan to bring out evidence so that Kohberger would know what he could file for. So that was that. In
That's
addition,
great.
Whitcomb told me details that didn't come out until after I'd spoken to him about what condition the girls were in. He talked about the signature wounds to me privately. He talked about the girls being on IUDs and having birth control and all those things that didn't come out until later. So I know he was telling me the truth about that. And I will tell you one more kind of bombshell. I won't say the name because I promised not to, but because he said, here's the words he said. I'll tell you this, but if you ever tell anybody, I'll fucking deny it. And I don't blame him. But yeah, he believes he does know who's involved in the murder. He told me who it is. I asked him. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But I said, do you think so-and-so was involved? And he's like, how the fuck do you not? Yes, of course they were involved. And I'm like, well, and he goes, but if you ever say anything about that, I'll fucking deny it. So, and I get it.
Because he had access, right? He had access to more text messages and other stuff going on.
Wait, Juan, you just can't lay this on me like this. Please go back to what you said, because I was reeling off of what I was just told by Lee. What did you say about text messages?
He had access to other text messages and stuff that we haven't seen yet. That I don't know if we will see.
Text messages, documents,
other
pictures,
stuff,
all that.
and like some of the stuff we tried to get more specific answers, but he wouldn't really go into like he said there were 3 fights. There were 3 fights that he knows of. Again, people are drinking and whatever.
Yeah.
Did they have anything to do with what happened? We don't know, but he knows of 3 fights, and he knows other stuff too, that was going on between the roommates and other things that, but he did reveal who he thinks is has some kind of involvement, but
Direct or indirect?
We were told, no, he said it, but it was revealed to us, but we're kind of under secrecy. We were told not to really say about it.
I get it. No, thank you very much. And everyone in chat, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. They're not going to do it for you. I'm going to say it here. If you like Kathy, please become a member. Think about it, and they're not going to ask it. But this is how you get this information. They got
let me show you. So I can't hold back. I got to show you something. Amanda, our document queen, showed up. It's one of several pages, but I want to show you one.
Thank you, Amanda.
I want to show you one dated January 5th, 2023, signed by Bryan Kohberger. And I want to show you something that people that she just caught. Fucking amazing shit. Watch this. I'm going to put it on screen. Look at what Bryan Kohberger did and didn't check boxes to. Has anyone made you promises or coerced you into this act? He didn't even check that
No
box.
answer.
I wish to be given a continuance. He didn't check this box. I wish to hire a new attorney. No, it didn't check the box. He signed it. He did not even check the box saying, no, nobody's made me any promises or whatever. He left it off. And didn't. That was back in 2020.
They better use that.
I believe this is the very day that he appeared in court for the first time.
Yes.
After the after the trip across the country in a little bit of bitty plane.
I think they may be able to use that in court against
I would agree.
the situation.
I don't remember seeing that. I have to.
Somebody will go check that box for him now.
Right. And you know what else this makes me? makes sense is remember when everybody was like thunderbunked because why in the hell did the defense agree to them tearing the house down? Well, hey, look at it now and ask that question.
Great point.
Nobody could
Why-
understand, like, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, guess what? She said, I don't care. Do what you got to do. Here it is.
Yep.
Can you think of any other case where there was a mass unaliving? I'm looking at Stoneman Douglas High School. That high school stayed up for 8 years because they had to go through the criminal trial, and then they had to go, the cop to his trial because the jury might. So you had 12 and 11-year-olds that go to middle school right next door, walking past this building.
Right.
17 people were unalived. 17 more were wounded, almost unalived. All right. Every day, these kids are going back and forth that building. The high school kids are walking right next to it. They didn't knock that building down until all trials were done because they knew that the jury would have to walk through or might want to walk through. They took that away. Who knows what secrets came down with that house?
Agreed. That's my whole point, and it makes me wonder because now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at how many other things that Anne may have agreed to that maybe she shouldn't have in a normal situation. Because I'm telling you, this is that, like you said earlier, Kathy, this is absolutely making sense now.
This is a
Micro-
bombshell. A
Yeah.
Microdot
bombshell.
asked if we think, do you think that Ann Taylor will be arrested after the truth? I really, so here's the answer.
Disbarred.
If what Kohberger is saying is true, she should be, in my opinion. But I'm also cynical of our system. And
Right.
very, very few people in the system ever be held or accountable for their
Exactly.
bullshit. Think of the person who completely fucked Alex Murdaugh's case. Is she held accountable? Really not. Not really.
No.
She's not serving jail time for what
Well,
she
look-
did, and she fucked that entire case.
Look at
So-
what's her name? Missy Woods, I think it is. They're said the maximum amount she's looking at is maybe 16 years for over 1,000 different cases that she fought.
Right.
Yeah.
The DNA expert that basically put people in jail for fake DNA.
I don't think
That's
she'll be.
insane.
I don't think she'll be arrested. If it goes high enough, she
Right.
definitely possibly maybe
Could get
some kind of
disbarred.
disbarred. I don't think she'll be
Disbarred.
arrested.
That's my thought too.
Right.
At the max.
Right.
Yeah, I do think it's very possible if the allegations are true and can be supported that she'll get disbarred for it at a minimum. But
And I've seen a couple of you ask it, and I'll be honest with you. Will they go after the real perpetrators in this case? I do not believe. Absolutely not. I do
No,
not
I
believe
don't think
there's
so
going to be
either.
anything else.
they'll leave it
Well-
on we all let a killer walk
well,
free if he
The
gets
answer
Yeah.
to that, they probably have some of them involved probably know other people who
Of
are
course.
the perpetrators or
Of
some of
course.
the perpetrators involved. So
Will they bring them to justice though?
No.
There's not going to be. They will not waste an investigation on it. The only
Especially
people
since
I-
they've destroyed evidence that would they've
Yes.
destroyed evidence that could test against other people. They destroyed it, so
Yeah.
you won't even get them put them at the scene.
I'll be honest with you guys, truly and honestly, the only people I see doing, if this were to be completely rounded out and BRYAN is found not guilty and so on and so forth, the only people I see investigating this would be the Gonsalves family, in my opinion, period.
yeah,
And I'm just thinking about what you said, that there were fights. There were fights, and Christopher
yeah.
Whitcomb in his book said there were fights. Is that the reason why we don't have the simple knowledge as the general public who paid for this case of when Xana and Ethan walked through 1122 for the
Probably.
last time? Is that why?
Probably.
Why we have Detective Payne say 1:45 they were home, the judge say they weren't home by 2, and all
Right.
the secrecy around their movement. Is that why possibly?
yeah,
Makes perfect sense. If you think about
yeah.
some of the interviews, Kathy, that we've heard that have pointed to certain things that weren't told directly to us.
Right.
Pete, for instance, whatever his last name is, you guys know who I'm talking about, made a statement that I caught right away and said, wait a minute, that's not how that happened. When he said that Ethan told him that Xana's hard to date. So he took him outside and they had a beer. Okay. Men don't go outside to have a conversation about women. They go outside to cool down in the midst of a fight. Okay.
Right.
Something happened at that Hunga Dunga that night. I'm telling
Yeah.
you. They left early. They were there for like 45, 50 minutes max.
Yeah.
Maisie was crying, went home, did not want nothing to do with anything else that night. So on and so forth. There was something fight wise, in my opinion, that went down
At
that night.
Hunga Dunga.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let
And I also have to challenge. I'm sorry. I would challenge Cy Ray. I know he has 20 years of law enforcement. I don't know what kind of involvement, if any, or what they knew, or they were some kind of threat or whatever. You know, he was like, you know, oh, you know, but people react differently. Yeah, people do react differently. That is absolutely 100% true. In my 23 years, I have never seen some kind of reaction that Dylan and Bethany like did. A 5-year-old kid would have called 911, like needing help.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense.
Juan, I would like, because you are the expert witness of the team here. Let's say that you had been called, if only you had been called to 1122 King Road. Would you or would you have not have asked, why didn't you call us sooner?
Oh my God.
Would that have been one of your first questions?
First question.
Sure, absolutely.
They would never ask.
They would have been brought down to the station separately immediately. I mean, you don't know who is the perpetrator and who isn't at that time. I've been on scene, many scenes, not as complicated as this kind of situation, and things can be misleading at the, there have been many times where you show up to a scene, like it could be an assault, just an assault, doesn't have to be a homicide, any kind of crime, and the perpetrator could be right there,
Right.
telling you, he ran that way, he went this way, he went that way, and they're right there, they're one of the purposes right there involved. So you don't know, just because someone is trying to act scared or acting like they're a victim, or they don't know. You don't know. You have to assume everyone is a suspect at that point.
That's right. You let the evidence lead you, right?
Yes,
you take the evidence to the end.
Absolutely.
You don't have preconceived motion, because these are 19-year-old white girls. I've often wondered if it were a black male. Black males, if they would have been treated the same way.
That's what pisses me off so many times. I keep hearing different people say, "Oh, they were, these some different like podcasts or interviews, where different people interviewed, and they're like, oh, I have someone a child in college, and these were kids. They were not young kids. These are not young kids. Okay, they're not old adults, they're in college. They're not young kids. Stop with the nonsense.
And you can drive a car, you can drink, you can live on your own.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to bring up another point that I think it's a little getting ahead of ourselves, but I want to bring this up to a couple points. If Kohberger does win the right to go to trial, someone's going to try to kill him in jail so he doesn't get his day in trial.
I have a bad feeling. I do believe that.
And listen, Kohberger has the right to request a protective order. Steve Gonzalez has already said someone's going to get to him. As soon as he gets to General Pop, they're going to get. He's already making threats on the outside that someone's going to get to Kohberger. He could say, and it's an 8th Amendment constitutional right, unusual, cruel, and punishment. He can say, they're threatening to kill me. They're not going to let me go to trial. He could and probably should request a protective order and have steps to ensure his life, because someone's going to try to make sure he doesn't go to trial.
In my opinion, they've already set the stage for that, Lee. They came forward a while back and made some statements to the world that I didn't believe, and I even pointed to it and said, I think they're setting this up for something, when they said that Bryan was making statements about taking his own life and different things because of the situation. I don't believe that was happening. Bryan does not come off as that person to me. I think they were trying to set stage just in case something went down.
They're going to try to stage something to where.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, you know what? If that's going to, there's enough eyes on this case.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Allie
that
Girl
if something happens to him in jail before trial, I think people are going to stay on this case until culprits are identified.
Real quick, to Allie Girl's
still the United States.
Yep. Real quick, Allie Girl, you're right. Kohberger is currently in protective custody. What I'm saying is he can file a request to stay in protective custody, or even potentially to a request to be transferred if he thinks that they can get to him inside protective custody, kind of thing. So yes, you're right. But what he could do is by filing a protective custody order, he could basically say, don't put me in general pop. Because if you put me in general pop, they've already had threats on my life. Someone's going to try to take me out, and so he should stay in that protective custody.
Didn't they also say, "Hey, we wish that we would like to speak with Mr. Kohberger, but I can't." Hey, isn't there a 99-year that he can't contact you? What do you want him to do? Contact you? So he violates that. Okay, Kohberger family, take notes. All right. Yes, I'm very concerned about that, Lee. But something may happen to this man in jail.
Dahmer was on death row, folks. Dahmer was on death row in protective custody, and they got to him. You can get to anybody you want to in there. So
So I think Epstein was probably in protective custody. Of course,
yes, they were. Absolutely. So what happens? What happens? I mean, could he request to get out of that prison, go somewhere else? Look, man, they took pictures of him. He's 3 days in. You're telling me this is a high security prison? Somebody took video of him in his cell and got it out. And the Idaho State, the IDOC said we're going to do an investigation. They did nothing.
Right.
Nothing
at all.
You go and look at their website. The press release is from August 15th. Oh, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Heads are going to roll. They did nothing. If they were able to take a video of him, they can get to him.
They said that person, and this pissed me off. Lee knows this because we screamed about this for a while. They said that person resigned, so there'll be no consequences for that. That is absolute bullshit, and I will never believe that. I'm sorry.
That came from Kevin Fixler of the Idaho Statesman. He wrote, "Who's Kevin? Is Kevin Fixler the governor of Idaho? Not
by any means.
Maybe he should be fixer. He's a fixer.
Yeah, right.
I got to ask you a question, Lee.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the other cameras down at Linda Lane. Remember those 4 people that got out? I always thought that one guy was sus because he was like knocking on a wall. He put his head down like he knew a camera was there.
Yeah.
Number 1, is that Ethan or not Ethan behind him? And number 2, do we know who that guy was, the leader of the pack?
The first guy.
I don't have
the first guy I don't know, but the 2, I swear to God, Kathy, was Ethan and Pete. That's who I think they are.
Yeah.
The guy walking that I think is Ethan had the same gait, same time. I mean, I swear I analyzed that forever and ever and ever, but the one for sure definitely looks like Ethan.
There's been a lot of rumors going around, and this is I'm going to say, who is the guy that just, he was drunk and was allegedly, who is he? Remember, Lee, you did a video on him last week. The guy that people thought he was drunk. People thought, Jeff Spicoli.
The guy that sounded high.
Yeah, Oh,
shit. Tyler? Was that Tyler?
No, the newer one.
Why are we all blanking on his name?
Goofy dude.
Goofy dude. Yeah.
Any possibility that
Tim
he
DeWolf.
was possibly one of
Tim
those?
DeWolf. Yeah, DeWolf.
Tim DeWolf.
Possibility he could have been one of those people at Linda Lane.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Could have.
Anything's possible with this shit.
And by the way, I see a lot of people are getting upset because I teased knowing something. Let me reiterate something. All it was is an opinion of his. I'm just not stating his opinion. He didn't give me the receipts. He didn't give me facts. I asked him if he thought a certain person could be involved, and he's like, "How could you not?" It was an opinion. So even if I were to tell you, which I'm not going to, it's just an opinion. It's not like I saw the receipts. So for those who think I'm holding back on the receipts, I don't have the receipts. I have a private discussion with him on a suspect. But
it was his personal opinion. It wasn't a fact.
Yeah, if we had the receipts, we would
show it,
explain it.
Right.
Yeah. We don't need another Schofield versus Giard.
No.
Oh, speaking of which, we got three possibilities of cases that are going to be directly impacted by today's event. Schofield versus Giard, that's the Idaho 4 defamation case. She tried to get documents from Judge Stephen J. Hippler right before the leak and everything that hit the fan. He told her, no, you're going to have to go to public records. I don't think she got them. Went to trial. It's supposed to be filing the initial appeal on the merits tomorrow is when it's due. Today was the day WSU versus the WSU lawsuit that the parties were supposed to deadline for filing motions to amend the complaint or the answer in affirmative defense. And then Friday, we got the reply brief doing EWU guys coming up to next week's hearing on the 5th before Judge Marshall. What is this day's events going to have impact?
What do you, I was going to ask you that tonight. What do you think, Kathy? What do you think, especially with the WSU lawsuit? What do you think is going to happen with that?
I think somebody's got to file a motion to stay. A motion to stay the proceedings, and that typically I think that would have to be WSU would have to do that. Stay the proceedings because of what's going on now. You know, he's filed for post-conviction relief.
It's over with.
And the WSU probably think, well, you have to get stayed in this, and because of this too.
Because there's no basis at this point until this is.
Well, if I was WSU, I'd be like, I'm not going to reach an agreement on whether or not we could have stopped Kohberger if Kohberger is saying he's not the guy that did it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And isn't the problem? I mean, everything was premised on this guilty plea last year, and he's looking to get it thrown out. And so therefore he's saying here he had ineffective, you know, I think they're going to have the Attorney General of the state of Washington, who is representing WSU, look at what Hunter versus US says, what the other case, Idaho versus, you know, Garza case says, and say, you know, he's got this pretty much, and then he's going to wait and see what they do. And then, hey, this could change everything. Motion to stay the proceedings until the things in criminal case are sorted. Could take 10 years for that to happen.
That's right.
So I'm going to recommend us wrap up in this way. I want to ask this question. What do we think happens next? So Kohberger has officially filed post-conviction relief, and he laid out really, in our opinions, really, really good reasons. He was lied to. He was coerced in front of his family. He was told lies about things. He was not shown exculpatory evidence that was handed to his defense, and that defense did not pass it along to him when they knew that they had it. Those are great grounds, but it goes before Stephen Hippler. Someone had said, I forgot who it was, somebody else unrelated said, whatever goes to Hippler, he's just going to reject it anyways. So, do we believe the Hippler that kind of seems like he was encouraging Kohberger to file post-conviction relief, or do we go with the Hippler's automatically going to reject him? And if he does reject him, how does it move to the federal government? Do you want to talk about this? How does it move to a habeas corpus issue and say, look, Idaho is not able to handle this case and needs to, my constitutional rights have been violated to an unfair trial in Idaho, and I want the government to get involved. How does that happen, do you think?
Well, number one, we all must now check off the most important thing, in my opinion, is that he got this in before the statute of limitations ran. Right. Then we put that by the side. What's going to happen next? I think Hippler has got to entertain this motion to appoint appellate counsel. It looks like he already granted, in a way, the motion that he didn't have to pay the filing fee. You know, that would have been a few $100s. He didn't pay that. The case got filed. It's got a case number. Now, yes, what will happen next? Hippler can look at the document and just say, hey, this, you know, whatever, and deny it. I think he would be very stupid if he did that before appellate counsel.
I think he would too. Yeah.
And that would be, I think he's not that stupid. He's going to wait. He's going to assign appellate counsel. Appellate counsel is going to come in. They're going to file an amended. And then from there, that's where really the game's going to start. Whoever loses, it's going to get appealed. If the state loses, if the defense loses.
Let me ask you this question. I think Stephen Hippler was legitimately pissed off about the Dateline NBC thing that got aired as he was getting ready to seat a jury. And I think he was as angry as a judge could be in writing when he said, I want to find out who leaked to the media. And if anybody takes any attempts to hide who did it, and I find out you tried to hide it, I'll have you thrown in jail. I mean, he gave a lot of and I think he was legitimately angry. And while we all thought that went away, we've been told by Turvey that it didn't go away, that there are two phases to that investigation. One is an administrative investigation, and then one is a criminal investigation. If during the administrative investigation they find there's grounds, then they move to a criminal investigation. Mm-hmm. According to Turvey, he's been called by law enforcement in lieu of that actual criminal investigation. So it's moved past. It's been
Wickham said that they closed the administrative and sealed it, and now it's into the criminal one.
It's in the criminal. Right. So where I'm going with all that is, do you think it's possible that Stephen Hippler during that criminal investigation has revealed What is part of the criminal investigation going to reveal that Ann Taylor didn't show her client exculpatory information, withheld things from him, coerced him into a plea deal? Maybe that would have been found in criminal investigation, and maybe that's why somebody would say, well, let's see who gets arrested. You know, maybe they already know. Maybe they already know that.
And now Hitler's got this, and now it's back with Hitler. You know, he was concerned about I don't care what he says. You know, he read the media. He doesn't want, you know, this is his courtroom is turned into a circus. Now we got part 2 coming back. I seem to think he is as arrogant as Cy is. You know, he's got an ego. I don't think he wants somebody else having the opportunity to ask Kohberger, you stood in front of me and you know, you said, don't you remember July 3rd? I asked you, blah, blah, blah. He wants that opportunity. I'm saying right here, I'm going to, if I were a betting woman, he's going to deny the motion.
Yes. Even Cy said,
he's going to allow it to go forward at least to an evidentiary hearing. What happens after that? I don't know.
Yeah. Even Cy said, who said Kohberger's guilty. His DNA was all over that crime scene. But Cy said, they will get another bite at this apple because he knew, I think he knew this was coming. They will get another bite at, and he said, some of Stephen Hippler's rulings will not survive appeal.
Right.
So is it possible Stephen Hippler won't even get the opportunity to see this case? Because if he's already been proven to be not impartial, if he was already prejudiced, if he already had decided how this was going to go down, and he didn't allow Ann Taylor to get a continuance when she said, I can't effectively defend my client without more time, can he be removed and say, sorry, you don't get this to do this?
I have the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Lee. All right. When this matter moved from Latah to Ada County, Judge said, I will allow the Idaho, because he could have said what county it was going to go to. And then what usually happens is you have a numbering system. Whatever judge is available, that's who gets the case. But it went to the Idaho Supreme Court. The Idaho Supreme Court handpicked Stephen Hippler and said in the order September of 20, if Amanda wants to pull it up at some point, it's September of 2024, that the only way Hippler can be removed on a motion for disqualification, that's where the party says you're prejudiced, you're biased, you need to be off the case, is there's got to be cause. So it's hard. But Hippler could file a motion for recusal himself. He could say, you know what? I'm too involved here, too close. You're going to be looking at my decisions. Did I accept this? Should I have investigated a little bit more? When I saw this statement of constitutional rights scribbled a million different places, should we have maybe allowed a little bit more time? You know, I believe I need to recuse myself. Do I think that's going to happen? Nah.
No, I agree with that. I do. He's too, he's the ego. I agree with you. And guys, it is very hard. We saw the same thing happen in the Delphi case where they tried to have Fran Gall recused. The Supreme Court said no. They brought back the defense for him, but they said no to her. So it's gonna be a fight for sure if that becomes a situation. I agree.
And you know the state of Idaho is going to fight tooth and nail. Yes. You're going to see Jeff Hurt. You're going to see all the usual play, maybe more. Getting involved. Look for the motion to dismiss. That's what I'm predicting that's going to be their first.
And I will tell you this: if the trial doesn't go out of Idaho and stays in Ada County or whatever, I will tell you this: the first trial, my wife knows, I had an Airbnb booked for the trial. I was going to be there every single day. I went down for the plea. I went down for the sentencing, and I was going to be there every single day of the trial. I had an Airbnb booked. I guarantee you, if this goes to trial, I'm going to be in the fucking courtroom every fucking day.
Nicely.
I'm going to try myself to be there. Yeah.
Lee, being that you were in the courtroom as a representative of the people, this is what the Constitution's all about. Lee, did you get any vibe off of him? I don't know how close you were to Mr. Kohberger in Latah County. It would have been much closer maybe than in Ada County. Did you get a vibe from him?
I don't like saying this because I feel like it sounds like it's maybe self-important. But the weirdest thing was, first of all, he was very calm. He was very collected. I watched Ann Taylor touch him and kind of comfort him, ask him if he was going to be okay, which I took as she knew that what he was about to say was something that was a lie. I took it that way. Like, she was literally, can you go through with this? Can you get up here and say you did something? Even if I kind of felt that when she was doing that. But the other weird part that I thought was weird is he looked directly at me and we locked eyes for a moment. And it was the weirdest thing. I was just like, holy shit. Like, I'm looking
He looked
around
at you?
Yeah, he made eye contact with me and held it for, and again, when you're in that kind of situation, maybe you feel like it lasted longer than it did, but it was a weird thing. Like, he never looked at the audience. He never even looked at his parents, but he looked me right in the eyes. It was a weird experience.
How tall? I mean, to you?
Yeah, he's tall.
You think, I mean, 5'10" or taller, clad in black? I'm just trying to get an idea in person.
Yeah, he's pretty tall. When he came in with other officers, he was above them, and so he's relatively tall.
How tall do you think he would have been next to Brett Payne walking in handcuffs into the interrogation room at the Pennsylvania State Police?
That's not fair.
He could have carried Brett on his hip.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was wild.
This is insane, folks. Again, going back to what you said earlier, Kathy, I hope we never see anything like this again, but I've never in my life seen anything like this ever.
I want to ask you a question, since I began following you when I was doing my podcast day tonight, and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, I gotta go on. Dago was playing music, and I had asked you to play Cheap Trick for me, which you did play, that you don't remember. Surrender, very good song.
Yes.
And could you have ever imagined this would have been maybe what, April 2024? Would you ever imagine a 2 years later you'd be sitting in your chair right now giving your opinion on this case?
No. I thought this would have been done 3.5 years ago. Honestly, when the first time we heard about a trial, I thought it was done, cut and dry. Never would I have imagined this. Never. I still can't imagine this. I can't.
I'm living it, and I can't imagine it.
It doesn't make any sense. I've never seen anything like this ever.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. So, how tall would you guesstimate he was, Lee?
I don't know, 5'10", 5'11", maybe, or maybe he could have been 6 foot, but I think at 5'11", probably. I don't know, maybe
5'11". Okay.
Yeah.
At some point, I hope that you will replay the video from the supermarket, and you look close up. You don't see any cuts on his hands. You don't see any bruises.
Yeah.
You don't see him walking in all like he had been through a ferocious fight the day, hours earlier. Like a couple of my followers, one of them does MMA, but he says, dude, you're in a ring for like 2 minutes. You're just crippled over in pain. Right. And I'm talking, this is when I was, a teenager, a 28-year-old guy like this, skinny guy, 5'11".
Kathy, even going along with that, and I've talked about it several times on this podcast, but real quick, the FBI specialist, the cell phone specialist that made a whole big deal about, BK took a picture of himself with the thumbs up, and they had the picture of him with his shirt off and all that. But as I've said on this show before, what was amazing to me about when they were talking about, look at all these pictures, these selfies he took of him, and what was like going through my mind, I've responded to hundreds of, and Dago has, I'm sure, being a first responder, I've responded to all kinds of jobs that are just assault or just a fight, not even homicides. Forget about homicides. People have all kinds of bruises, marks, everything. You know what he didn't have in any of he had one picture, he had one little Band-Aid on one finger or something. Nothing
right
on
there
his body
from dry skin.
And you want to tell me that, at least going by what they have given us, that Xana fought for her life. There's no way whoever it was that killed Xana has all kinds of marks and all kinds of shit on them. There's no way about it.
He didn't even have a hair.
He went to a doctor a couple of days later.
And a barber.
So he would have had to go in for a physical. And
Yep.
nobody
Yeah.
said, "Oh boy, where'd you get that cut from? Where'd you get that
and-
mark from? Where'd you get those bruises from?"
And a barber
my
cutting his
gosh.
hair would have seen marks on his head, anything. Not a hair out of place, you guys. Nothing. Nothing.
Real quick, I want to point out, Alley Girl has a really good point. In extreme cases of bad cases, they won't retry it. They'll just say, "Fucking you walk." Like,
That's right.
If they fucked you so bad that it was a huge miscarriage of justice, there may not be another. Now, granted, it's a long shot. All of this is a long shot, but it is possible that they won't even have a trial. They'll just say there was a massive miscarriage of justice, and nobody should have to undergo this at this point. And so it could be so bad that they just say, "Nope, no trial, done."
Yeah, that's absolutely a possibility. You know, we don't know. Matters are developing. So everybody just stay tuned. You know, the next couple of weeks are going to be really key, not just in this case, but in WSU, EWU, and potentially also the Idaho 4 appeal, the defamation case, Schofield versus Guillard.
Yep. All right. I'm kind of spent. It's a big emotional day. I think we're going to call it here. Thank you all for bearing with us on the long wait to get started and the intro songs, and then the huge amount of panel discussion where we all yell at each other for a long time before we ever get to reading. I appreciate your patience, but hopefully that's what you come here for, is the commentary. Because I mean, a million people could have covered it, but hopefully you came here for this commentary. So we appreciate you spending your evening with us, and hopefully you'll watch on replay and send it to other people. And this case is pretty far from over, I think. I mean, granted, it could all stop if Hippler denies the post-conviction relief and no, it doesn't go up to a higher court. But I don't see how that happens. I think this is heading back to trial. But that's me.
I think
Any
it's all
point
just
thoughts, guys?
starting.
Yeah.
This is the either the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
This isn't going.
Yeah.
This ain't going to get resolved in a week, people. So stay
No.
tuned and make sure you
No.
subscribe to everybody's channel, you know, and the memberships and all that good stuff, because you're getting independent reporting here. I'm telling you, I followed that case for almost 8 months, and I went on a couple of. It wasn't until I came over here to Lee's channel, and he says, "What the hell's going on with Hunter?" The freaking, you know, the United States Supreme Court came back less than 24 hours on the 18th of June. Check my math. So thank you all.
It was
guys,
awesome.
thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for coming. Dago, thank you for taking time. I know you had a wild show going and you took time to be with us. So thank you so much for that. Robin, amazing sizzle reel, and 1-1. Thank you for the music. And Robin, thank you for putting video to it. And it feels a little weird having myself be the center of that video most of the way, because that feels weird. But other than that, it was badass. The music and the video was badass.
Yes. And also with what Kathy said, guys, make sure you're subscribing to her channel as well, please. I put the link in chat there.
I put it in our chat as well, because she's almost at 6,000 people. Come on.
I should have been close to 10, but I lost a lot last year when I called what's his face, a complete a-hole. You know, that was it. So, but anyway, guys, how hard is it going to get to be used to KOHBERGER versus Idaho? That's my first
the other
thing.
way
I gotta
around. It's
change
Idaho
my
versus
stuff.
KOHBERGER. It's KOHBERGER versus Idaho. That's
It's going to be wild.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Have a great one. Take it easy.
Have a great one, folks.
Night.
Thanks for being
Take
here.
care, guys.